Well, Dwayne is on his way over here now, Angela. Then we'll pick you girls up, say 7 o'clock? Good. Who, Dwayne? Hey, he's dying to take Brenda out. Really? I know you won't go unless Brenda goes. But what really matters is you and me. And a date for Brenda, right? I can't wait to see you tonight. Really, you don't know how much this means to me. I mean, I can't believe you finally said yes. Yeah. See you soon.
Was that rerun?
No, that was Angela Clark. It took me 6 months to get a date with her.
And what in the world ever made her change her mind?
I promised her that I would fix her girlfriend Brenda up with Dwayne.
I see. What's her girlfriend like?
I don't know. I haven't seen her. But Angela says she's very pretty.
Does Dwayne know you haven't seen her?
Well, not exactly.
What's that mean?
Well, I told him I saw her and she was a fox. I lied a little.
A little? There's a big difference between a fox and a dog. Raj, what am I going to do with you?
Try minding your own business, Miss Busybody.
Thank you.
I'm gonna go finish the dishes.
Okay. Come on in, Dwayne.
Hey. Man, let's go get beautiful Foxy Brenda.
Right.
Man, tell me a little more about her.
Huh?
Yeah, Raj, tell him a little more about her.
Yeah, describe her exactly.
Exactly.
Wow, Dwayne, I don't even know where to begin.
You can start with legs and go on from there.
Hey, beautiful legs, great legs. And she wears nice shoes, too.
Man, who cares about the shoes? Her face. Describe her face.
Oh, this I gotta hear.
Oh, she has a great face with, eyes and nose and, things.
Things? What kind of things?
Things? What's the difference? I don't know.
Wait a minute. You set me up with a total blind date, didn't you? Lied to your best friend, didn't you? You never saw her, did you?
Answer him, Raj.
Why don't you go in the kitchen and help Mama with the dishes? Hey, Dwayne, come on. It's going to work out fine. And you'll be doing Brenda a big favor.
What favor?
She just broke up with her boyfriend, and she's really down in the dumps.
Oh, now who do I look like, the garbage man?
Come on, Dwayne, please. I promised Angela. And you know what Angela looks like.
Ah, she's beautiful. But that doesn't mean that
Yes, it does. You know how all those beautiful girls stick together? They travel in bunches.
You mean she might have that same great body like Angela?
Yeah.
And that same soft skin?
Mm-hmm.
And that long, beautiful hair and beautiful black eyes like Angela?
Yeah, that's right.
Good. I'll take Angela, you take Brenda.
Come on, let's go.
Hey, Charlie. Roger and Dwayne been in.
Not yet. You want anything?
I have a number 14.
Rerun, we don't have a number 14.
What's a hamburger with fries?
A number 5.
And what's a tuna on rye?
A number 6.
And what's a chili dog?
Number 3.
We'll add those up and bring them over. Raj, Dwayne!
Hi, Rerun. You know Angela.
Sure. Hi, Angela.
Hi, Rerun.
And this is Brenda.
Hi.
Hi. You're the Brenda he took out?
I'm the one.
That's impossible.
Why?
Because a blind date doesn't look like that. A blind date looks like that.
Raj, would you excuse us one little minute?
Sure,
Right
Angela.
back, Dwayne.
Okay.
You better follow her. The last time a girl told me she'd be right back, she climbed out the bathroom window. Hey, come on and fill me in. I want to know all the details.
Okay. I went and picked her up.
Yeah.
We went to the movie.
Yeah.
We sat in the balcony.
Yeah.
And then we came here. Yeah, that's all.
I did better with the girl that climbed out the window.
Come on, Dwayne. I saw you holding her hand.
Only during the scary part.
Oh, yeah? What did you see?
The Pink Panther.
Hey, did you like the movie?
Yeah, it was pretty good. Were you there, Marvin?
Yeah. Hey, Dwayne, who's the lucky girl?
I don't want you printing in that dumb school newspaper.
Hey, I print the news, man, and you with the girl is news.
Here you go.
Wow, you're really treating these girls right.
Hey, this is for me. I'm alone.
You're never alone, Rerun. Just look behind you.
Hey, I liked your date, Dwayne. Really great. See you later.
Much.
Did you hear that? Marvin thought my date was great.
Right. So you like Dwayne, huh?
Yeah, I like him. He's nice. He's a lot different from Daryl, that's for sure. Every time me and Daryl went out, he'd end up in a fight with somebody. His temper's unbelievable, girl. That Daryl is an animal.
Look, all you gotta do is ask her. She'll go out with you again.
But what if she says no?
Now, why would she? She likes you, doesn't she?
I don't know. I didn't ask her.
You want me to ask her out for you?
No.
Rerun, there's some things a man has to do by himself
Yeah, that's right.
and with nobody else around.
Yeah, all alone.
Hey, look, Angela, I just remembered I have to get up really early tomorrow. Can we split now?
Oh, okay.
I knew you'd understand. I'll see you later, Brenda. Nice meeting you.
Bye.
Rerun.
Bye.
Come on.
Oh. Hey, Shirley, you got a doggy bag?
Why would I need a dog bag?
Well,
You're taking your life in your hands, sucker.
I gotta go. See you later, Brenda. Dwayne.
Roger said you had a boyfriend, but you broke up. Oh, if that's too personal, we don't have to talk about it. It's none of my business. What was his name? Oh. Why'd I ask that? That was dumb. Brenda, I'm okay once I get to know a person. In the beginning, I'm not too smooth. I guess you noticed that.
Oh, I don't know. You arranged it so we'd be alone.
Yeah, pretty smooth, huh?
You two want anything?
Sure. Oh, Shirley, this is Brenda, my date.
Hi, Brenda.
Hi, Shirley. I'll have a grape soda, please.
I'll have a root beer. And see that I get the check, okay?
You got it.
Shirley's our friend, too.
You come in here a lot?
Sure, don't you like it?
Of course I like it. Stop worrying, Dwayne.
I get over this nervousness after I've known a person.
Good.
5 or 6 years.
You're crazy.
I'm glad you think so.
I like you.
Good. I'm glad to see that you weren't fooled by my shy act. I'm really a tiger.
A grape soda for the lady and a root beer for the king of the jungle.
Shirley.
You are shy.
Well, I used to be shy and short, but I grew up and now I'm shy and medium.
Well, Mr. Shy and Medium, I haven't had a chance to thank you yet.
For what?
Everything. The movie, the conversation, the grape soda. Thanks, Dwayne.
Would you like to do it again?
Same chief?
No, I mean go out again. Tomorrow night.
Oh, I'd love to.
With me?
With you.
Oh, I'm gonna need another drink. Shirley, another root beer. Easy on the roof.
Tonight.
That's right. I'm going out with him tomorrow night, too.
No, wait. We don't stay out late or anything. Just a couple of nice kids passing the time.
Do I?
I don't think he's kidding, Brenda.
Oh, Dwayne, I'm sorry. I really had such a nice
Brenda,
time.
just a minute. Dwayne, I've seen those kind of guys before, and you got no problem. Because you got to do just one thing.
Yeah, what's that?
Move to Chicago.
And then he said something about hurting.
Well, maybe he was kidding.
No, I don't think so.
Why not?
Because then he said, I'm not kidding.
Angela did tell me Daryl had a problem with his temper. I forgot about that.
Thanks a lot, Rod.
Maybe you better call it off, Dwayne. Write her one of those Dear John letters.
But I like her.
Then you better write a Dear Dentist letter. Listen, Raj, we've been there half an hour. Where's the food?
Come on in the kitchen. There's half an apple pie and a box of Twinkies.
I don't want any.
Good, there's not enough for you anyway.
Oh, hi, Mom. I was just listening to the door. It sounds all right.
Is Roger home?
He's in the kitchen with Rerun and Dwayne having a very private and confidential meeting.
Uh-huh.
Want to know what it's about?
You've got to stop this eavesdropping, young lady.
I couldn't help it. See, I was in my room, and I decided to come downstairs to welcome you when you came home to see if you needed any help. And as I approached the top of the stairs, my shoelaces came untied. So while I was tying it, I couldn't help hearing Rerun, Dwayne, and Raj talking.
Dee,
Yes, Mama?
you're not wearing shoelaces.
I was as shocked as you are. Well, Mama.
I'll work it out. Really.
Let Mama help you. I don't want you to get hurt, kid.
Well, what have you decided, Dwayne?
I'm still thinking about it. See, Mrs. Thomas, if I don't take her out, everybody will know it's because her ex-boyfriend told me not to.
Dwayne, you're too young to get involved with women. I suggest you forget girls, stay home, and play with your frisbee.
You mean this could lead to bloodshed?
Only Dwayne's, Mrs. Thomas.
Does this girl mean that much to you?
Well, I haven't known her all that long.
But that's not the point, Mama.
Then what is the point?
If Dwayne doesn't take her out tonight, everybody will think he's a coward.
All you're worried about is what somebody's going to think of you? That's nothing but false pride, which could lead to false teeth.
But he can't run away from Daryl.
Listen, honey, as General Custer would have said, a good run is better than a bad stand any day.
But Mrs. Thomas.
Look, Dre, it's just not worth it.
I don't see what there is to think about. Any fool knows that it's better to be a live chicken than a dead duck.
Well, he's not at home.
You think you took Brenda out?
I don't know. Maybe. Who knows?
Hey, fellas, where's Dwayne? Not out with Brenda, I hope.
Maybe he is. Who knows?
Oh, come on, face it, man. That dude scared him to death. He's staying as far away from Brenda as possible.
Marvin, take a walk, will you?
Don't get uptight with me. I'm just doing my job.
Then why don't you go do it on the Pomona Freeway?
Hey, what's happening, Daryl?
What do you want? We're out of raw meat.
Hey, I just came for a sandwich.
Listen, Daryl, Dwayne isn't here, and if he was, I don't want any trouble.
I'm not looking for any trouble.
That's good, because I hate to have to put you through that dishwasher.
Can I just have a menu, please?
I hope Dwayne and Brenda don't show up while he's here.
I'll go and talk to him.
Don't aggravate him, Raj.
I won't, but this whole thing is my fault. I'll just tell him the whole truth. That Dwayne has an incurable disease. And there's no point in killing him because he only has a week to live.
I didn't know that.
Hi. You're Daryl, right? I'm Roger Thomas. Dwayne's friend. The one with the glasses. Hey, look, there seems to be a misunderstanding between you.
What do you want?
If you're eating, I can come back.
Not eating.
Then you should eat. It's healthy for you.
You worried that I'm gonna hurt your friend, right?
Yeah, something like that.
Okay, well, I'm not.
Good.
Because he did what I told him. He stayed away from Brenda.
He did?
Yeah. I just called her. She's home alone. She told me he stood her up and she hung up on me.
That's smart. I mean, for Dwayne. Because I can't understand why anybody would hang up on you.
She thinks I'm aggressive.
Oh, well, that's...
Do I look aggressive?
Uh-uh.
See how nice I'm sitting here talking to you?
Mm-hmm.
Did I hit anyone since I've been here?
No, you wouldn't hit nobody.
Don't count on it.
I won't, good brother.
Well,
No problem. Dwayne did the smart thing.
he chickened out?
Yeah.
All right. Sorry about your soda.
I didn't think you were coming.
Why?
Because it's almost 9 o'clock.
Oh, I'm sorry. I had some thinking to do. Lost track of time.
Don't have to go there. We can stay here and watch some TV.
I want to go to the soda shop.
Daryl might be there.
I know, but... Oh, I know.
I'll get my sweater. You're all right, Dwayne.
So far.
Look, Marvin, you would have done the same thing as Dwayne.
Me? Are you kidding? I'm not chicken.
Right on, turkey. You can write that in your pad and stuff it.
Right on, Shirley.
I was cooking that one.
Between him and me.
Now, look, now.
Between him and me. Butt out.
Right on.
Can't we discuss this?
No.
I can live with that.
Where you won't be alone.
Teach him a lesson, Dwayne.
Teach me a lesson? Come on, Dwayne. Teach me a lesson.
You want a lesson, sucker? Okay, school is open. I got some dirty dishes.
Come on, I'm waiting.
Daryl, don't, please.
What's the matter?
That's the closest to getting killed that I ever want to come.
And I owe you an apology, Dwayne. If I hadn't wanted a date with Angela, none of this would have happened.
Well, at least it brought you and Angela closer together. When you going out again?
Didn't you tell him?
Tell me what?
You know.
What?
She dumped me.
After I almost got killed?
Oh, calm down. She probably wasn't my type anyway.
That's okay. At least I learned something today. I stood up for myself even though I was afraid.
And the three of us stuck together. Nobody can make us back down.
Well, that's what friends are all about. One for all and all for one. Standing up against anybody and sticking together through thick and thin.
All right. Who left all those dirty glasses in the sink, huh?
Dwayne.
Me? Oh, wait a minute, it wasn't me, it was rerun.
He did.
No, you did it. Oh, come on, you did it.
He did it. He did it.
Oh, no, I did it.
Yeah, you probably forgot, Mama. Well, that does it.
That does what?
That's the game. You lost.
You still see my checker there, don't you?
I see it, and wherever you move it, I jump it.
That's why I'd have to be a fool to move it.
But it's your turn.
And I've decided to stay there on my turn. Now it's your turn. Move somewhere or give up.
I give up.
Good.
Hi.
Hi, Mom. I just beat Raj again. How was work?
Oh, work was fine, but home is better. And speaking of home and work, I hope all your homework's finished.
Yep, I did everything except study for tomorrow's algebra test, which I'll do when Dwayne and Rerun show up.
Mm-hmm. And Dee, how about your homework?
I've decided not to do it.
You what?
I realized today that I don't believe in doing homework. And there are many more children who feel as I do. One of us has to take a stand.
Well, isn't that wonderful? Well, whoever's going to take this stand had better not be you, or you won't be able to take a seat now. Move it!
It's hard fighting for what you believe in. Where's tomorrow's Kunta Kinte coming from?
Girl is so...
Oh, my goodness. Roger, look what Miss McDermott gave me today. 2 tickets for a Friday night concert.
Oh, Mama, that's nice. Who you going with?
I'm not going, you are.
Oh, thanks, Mama, but I don't like your kind of music. I'm sorry, I wouldn't enjoy the concert.
Fine. I'll just give them to Dwayne and Rerun. Maybe they like Stevie Wonder.
Stevie Wonder? Wait,
Stevie Wonder?
Stevie Wonder's at the forum?
Mm-hmm, that's right. Mrs. McDermott bought these tickets for her son, but he had a college interview up north, so she gave them to me.
That kid gave up a Stevie Wonder concert to go to college?
I'm going to call my friend Robin and tell her we're going to the concert.
Hey, wait a second. I'm using these tickets.
I'm giving these tickets to Roger because you're too young to go.
But, Mama, how come Roger always goes
Dee,
and...
the concert won't be over until 1 in the morning, and you have to be in bed, young lady.
I could stay up until 1.
No, you can't.
Why not?
Because you're only 11 years old.
Well, who has to know that?
Here, Roger.
Oh, Mama. Oh, Mama, these tickets cost $25 a piece.
Well, who are you going to take? Dwayne or Rerun?
I forgot about that.
How can I invite one without making the other one mad at me?
You can't. Well, that's it. I guess I get the tickets anyway.
Stop it, Dee. I'll tell you what. When Roger goes to the concert Friday, I'll take you to a movie, okay?
Okay.
But, Mama, what should I do?
Well, why don't you just flip a coin?
Okay. Dwayne is heads and Rerun is tails.
You can say that again. What is it?
I'm afraid to look. You tell me.
It's heads. That means Dwayne goes.
That's it. And that's Dwayne. Come on in, Dwayne.
It's not Dwayne. It's Gene Walker. Remember me, Rabbit?
Right. Rabbit, right. You're the fellow on the USC track team. And you came by to rent the room.
Yeah. Did you change your mind?
Oh, Mama, this is Gene Walker. I forgot to tell you. He saw the ad that we had in the paper for a boarder about a month ago, and he came by to rent the room.
It's a pleasure to meet you, ma'am.
Yeah.
It's awfully expensive living on campus. You know, prices going up every day. I can pay about $50 a month.
I don't think so.
I can also pay $60 a month. I really need your room, ma'am.
It's my room that was up for rent.
I can also pay $1 a month to the little girl for giving up her room.
Mama,
What, Dee?
the poor man needs shelter.
Hey, Mama, if Dee doesn't mind, that extra money could make your life easier.
Well, $65 a month, you say?
No, I said 60.
Oh, that must have been me who said 65.
That's where you heard it, Mama.
You got it. I'll be by tomorrow with my things. Thank you very much. Hey, thank you. And thank you, small portion.
See you later, Gene.
All right.
I sure hope I did the right thing.
I think you did. He's studying political science, politics and stuff. Smart guy.
He better be. You're going to need a politician around here to tell Rerun he's not going to the concert.
Rerun will understand. It was a fair flip of the coin, and that's all there is to it. Now that's Dwayne. Come on in, Dwayne.
Hey. Hi, Miss Thomas.
Hi,
Dee.
Dwayne. How you doing?
What's happening?
You're going to see Stevie Wonder at the forum.
Stevie Wonder? Stevie Wonder, is she kidding, Raj?
No, my mama gave me the ticket.
Oh, wow, Stevie Wonder.
What's happening? Hi, Mrs. Thomas. Hi, Dee.
Hey, man, Rerun, guess where we're going this Friday night?
Wait.
We're going to see the Stevie Wonder concert.
All right, boy, we lucky.
Wait till you hear this, Lucky.
See, Rerun, Miss Thomas gave Raj the tickets and he's taking us.
Gee, Raj, I don't know how to thank you.
You don't have to thank him.
I think you better explain, Roger. Dee, go upstairs and work.
And miss this?
Dee?
What's this all about, Raj?
Rerun, I got something to tell you.
Yeah, pal, what is it?
You ain't going? Okay.
What?
You're not going to the concert.
Huh?
You didn't give me a chance to finish, Dwayne. You're going, but Rerun isn't. My mama only gave me 2 tickets.
And you picked Dwayne over me?
Well, I didn't pick him. The coin picked him. The only way I could choose between you and Dwayne was to flip a coin. Heads him and tails you. And it came out heads.
Why was he heads? Did you flip a coin to see who should be heads? And how do I really know that you flipped the coin at all?
Mama and Dee were witnesses.
Well, I guess that's how it goes. Sometimes you win, sometimes you lose. And Dwayne won, and that's it. Congratulations, Dwayne.
Hey, Rerun, thanks.
Oh, Rerun, you're the best, man.
Thanks, Raj. Now let's flip to see who goes with him.
He might not come here.
Did he tell you that?
No, he hasn't said anything to me since that dumb flip of the coin yesterday.
Rerun!
Hey, Rerun.
What's happening, buddy? Oh, I didn't think he'd get this upset over these dumb tickets.
You sitting over here?
Yeah, you got something to say about it?
No, but I think I just heard the stew started complaining.
I'm not in the mood for you, Shirley. Just bring me a scoop of vanilla ice cream.
You got it.
Hello, Rerun? I said hello, oh, come on, Rerun, be reasonable. What else could I do but flip a coin?
What else? I'll tell you what else. You could have invited the friend you've known the longest.
But I met you and Dwayne at the same time. Remember? When we were kids on the school playground.
You met me first on a seesaw. You were on one end, and I came over and sat on the other end, and you went flying into the sandbox and landed on Dwayne.
But Rerun, do you honestly think I should have invited you instead of Dwayne just because I met you 2 seconds early?
Yes, I do. Now, if you excuse me, I want to be alone with my best friend, me.
Oh, I don't understand him. Now, if you had lost, you'd have taken it like a man.
Here's one.
One what?
Movie you can take me to tomorrow night while Roger's at the concert. Pom Pom Girl Party.
Fine.
Plus, live on stage, 15 luscious cuties. Count them, 15.
What did you say?
All right. We don't have to see an X-rated movie. Let's see what's rated R.
I'm not taking you to no R. You're 11 years old and you're going to see G movies, and that's all there is to it.
But how am I supposed to learn about sex?
You're not.
Until when?
Until you're 185. Who's there?
Gene Walker.
Wait a minute. Is your room all cleared out?
Yeah. Hi.
Hi, small portion. Afternoon, Mr. Thomas.
Where's my dollar?
Can't you wait till the end of the month?
This is a tough neighborhood. I don't know if I'm gonna be here by the end of the month.
Oh, I see. Okay, there you go. The room is right at the top of the stairs, right?
Right, honey.
Okay, I'll be in with the rest of my things.
I think he'll work out.
I don't see why not. He's nice, polite, and educated.
And he carries cash.
Right up here, Tina.
She must be one of his things.
Hey, Mama, was that our boarder who just came in?
Yeah, with one luscious cutie. Count 'em, one.
Hey, Mama, Rerun was really upset about not going to the concert.
Well, that's too bad. He's old enough now to take disappointments.
Suppose I sold these tickets and used the money for me, Rerun, and Dwayne to go to a movie and have dinner.
They're not yours to sell.
Hey, well, thanks for the help, Tina. Mrs. Thomas, I'd like you to meet a friend of mine, Tina. She'll be dropping in and out from time to time.
You got my vote.
Goodbye, honey.
Yeah, bye, honey.
I don't think I'm gonna like this.
What? Him having a girlfriend? Get with it, Mama. It's today. It's what's happening. Well, don't you read the newspaper? Today's college kids are at their fun-filled freest.
Hey, that sounds like Pom Pom Girl's party.
You got it.
When did you see that movie?
I didn't. I saw it. It was in the ad here. Man.
Why don't you two go wash up for dinner?
Yeah, or you go and use the bathroom first, Steve.
Pom-pom girl party. I'll put a pom-pom on your pom-pom.
Hey, young student, what's the problem?
Nothing.
Hey, come on, Raj, who you kidding? I was your age once when I was your age. What? You got a problem, right?
Yeah.
Hey, well, come on upstairs and help me unpack, and we'll discuss it man to man in private.
Okay. Well, I guess when you get right down to it, I got 2 tickets to the Stevie Wonder concert.
Why is that a problem?
I need 3 tickets to the Stevie Wonder concert.
Wow, Rod, you're the greatest friend in the world. I'm really sorry for the way I acted. Thanks a lot.
Hey, forget it. And don't thank me, thank Gene.
Yeah, man, that board of yours is all right. Where you get these 3 tickets from anyway?
Some guy on the track team needed some money.
Wow, how much are they?
$20 a piece, and they almost as good as the 2 that Mama gave me.
Did you pay him yet?
No, I figure I'd sell Mrs. McDermott's 2 $25 tickets down here, then I owe him 10 more.
Does your mother know what you're doing?
No, and she doesn't have to.
Here, give me those 2 tickets. I'll sell them for us. Hey, bro, I got 2 tickets here for sale. Hey, little lady, I got 2 tickets for sale. Sorry, madam. Would you care to... I have 2 tickets for sale. They happen to be the best seats in the house.
You kidding?
No, he's not kidding. They're $25 seats.
Oh, hey, man, I know. Give me a break. Who are you? I'm talking to him.
Be cool, fool. He's my friend.
Mine, too. And what you say to one, you gotta say to all 3.
All right. Hey, look, I'm not looking for hassle. I just want to go see the concert, man. How much you want for them tickets?
He told you they're $25 seats.
Yeah, 25 and 25. That's 60.
Reruns.
Raj, I'm handling this. $60. Take it or leave it.
I'll take it. And you and your friends. You guys are under arrest for scalping?
Oh,
Let's
wait,
move it.
but wait a minute.
No, we
My-
must do
wait a
better,
minute.
Mr.
Yeah.
Hey,
My grandmother's white.
Hey,
so is
You know we
I know,
don't
fellas, everybody's innocent here. What, 3 more? You said it. What a night. I see more scalpers tonight than Custer did. You gentlemen want to empty your pockets, please?
Well, look, this is a mistake.
Yeah, I know, son, but you see, you should have thought of that before.
What are you going to do to us?
Well, first I take your names, and then since you're juveniles, I call your families.
Look, my family is at the movies.
Mine, too. It's a double feature.
Okay, son, what's your name?
Start with me. They were really innocent. I'm the one that did the scalping. I'm guilty, and you can let them go. What's right is right, and honesty is the best policy.
Okay, what's your name?
Belafonte. Sam Belafonte, Harry's cousin. Reverend Sam Belafonte, the First National Church. And that extra $10 I was seeking was going to be used for our Korean Children's Center. Hallelujah.
Oh, amen.
All right. Now, I just want to know, who do these tickets belong to?
Me?
Uh-huh. And you were scalping them, right?
Well, not exactly.
No, sir. I was the one scalping them. But I wasn't scalping them because scalping means selling them for more than what I paid, because I didn't pay for them yet. And I didn't sell them yet, because luckily before I was committed to a life of sin, I got arrested. Thereby staying out of trouble. Hallelujah! 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 Hallelujah!
And you're not out of trouble yet, so hallelujah that.
I really enjoyed that movie this evening, Dee.
Yeah? Well, if I see another movie about an animal with the sore leg, I'm gonna kill myself.
Hey, I thought it was beautiful. I even cried when the little boy found their dog.
That's because you see R-rated movies. All I ever get to see is little boys finding dogs and little dogs finding boys, and I'm really fed up.
Hello? No, he's not here. I'm his mother. Who is this? He left his wallet where when his who did what? I see. I see. Well, you can put it in the mail. Thank you, officer. Goodbye.
What was all that who, what, where stuff about, Mama?
There was a call from the forum. Roger was arrested for scalping and left his wallet there when he was released in the custody of his brother.
His brother? When did that happen?
When I rented out your room.
Mama, hi, Dee.
Evening.
How was the movie?
Not as exciting as the concert, I bet.
Stevie Wonder is a genius. I never saw anything like it.
I can believe that.
Did you go to, Jeans?
Oh, yeah, I went down there.
It's out awfully early, isn't it?
Well, we wanted to avoid the crowds. Huge crowd.
Lots
Oh.
of people.
I understand.
Well, yeah, I'm gonna go into my room, too.
And if you get out of it before you're 40, you'll be a lucky kid.
What are you talking about?
She's talking about the call I just got from the forum and the police officer telling me that you left your wallet there.
Huh? Oh, they found it. I don't know how I lost it.
Mama does.
All right, Mama. I'm gonna tell you the whole truth. And you can punish me if you want to, but I want you to know that what I did, I really believe was right. And you always taught me to do what's right. And I'm gonna tell you what I did, which I think was right. That's why I did it. And if you still want to punish me, go ahead.
Good speech won't help.
Mrs. Thomas, if I may say something on Roger's behalf, he really wanted to take rerun to that concert tonight. And luckily, I was able to get 3 tickets from a friend of mine.
Yeah, and in order to pay for those, I had to sell Mrs. McDermott's tickets. I just wanted to make everybody happy.
See how happy you made everybody?
But I told you not to sell those tickets.
I thought you might bring that up.
And all of this happened because you disobeyed me and didn't use Mrs. McDermott's tickets. And then you tried to sell them like I told you not to. And then you got arrested for scalping. And then you lied to the police and told them that Gene here was your brother.
Yes, ma'am.
May I say something else, Mrs. Thomas?
No.
I think I'll turn in.
Yeah, me too. Night, Mama.
You'll never make it to the stairs.
Roger!
See?
Now, this is very interesting, Roger. All of this came about over a flip of a coin. Heads and tails, right?
Right, Mama.
And that's how it's gonna finish. You were scalping, right?
Well, yeah.
And scalping is heads. And you took heads. Now I'm gonna take tails. Give me a belt.
Now, come on, Mama, you're kidding.
Let me help you, Raj. Come in.
Hi, Dee. Hello,
Hi,
Miss
Mrs.
Thomas.
Thomas.
Well, well. If it isn't Public Enemy 2 and 3. Number 1 is upstairs in his room.
You punched him, huh?
This is true. Hey, what are you two doing out so late anyway?
Oh, we brought the rabbit at $60.
Where'd you get it from?
After my brothers came down and got me out, they bought the tickets and went to the concert themselves.
Well, the rabbit is upstairs sleeping. I don't want to wake him up. But if you want to leave the money, I'll make sure he gets it in the morning.
Sure.
Okay.
Can we see Roger?
Oh, all right.
Thanks,
Thank you,
Mrs. Thomas.
It's hard for you to stay mad at Raj, huh?
Or you. You know, Dee, the people you love the most always seem to make you the maddest. And I'm kind of sad that I had to punish Roger. But I did it because I love him. And I want him to know right from wrong. You understand?
Yes, Mom.
And to get right down to it all, I guess I'm just an old softy. You understand? D? D? D.
Dwayne, sitting on the edge of his familiar twin bed in the cluttered apartment he had managed to hold onto despite the constant chaos of his life, stared at the flickering television screen with a sense of unease he couldn't quite explain, as though some invisible thread had begun to unravel the comfortable patterns he had long relied upon, patterns that had carried him through high school, through the awkward attempts at early adulthood, through the sudden and sometimes absurd responsibilities that came with living in a world that rarely made sense, yet somehow always demanded he make sense of it, and for a moment he considered turning off the TV, letting the silence of the room wash over him like a cold, cleansing wave, but instead his hand froze over the remote, fingers trembling slightly not from fear but from the weight of expectation he felt pressing down upon him, the same weight that had been a constant companion ever since his parents had stopped providing. The kind of guidance he pretended he didn't need yet secretly craved, and as he finally clicked the power button and plunged the room into semi-darkness, shadows stretching across the walls like the long, tangled history of his life, he couldn't shake the thought that something was about to change in a way he couldn't predict, something that would force him to confront choices he had avoided for years, choices that now loomed like towering obstacles between him and a future he had never truly allowed himself to imagine, a future that felt simultaneously exciting and terrifying, and while he had spent countless nights thinking he understood the parameters of his own life, tonight the boundaries felt fluid, as though the very ground beneath him might shift at any moment, leaving him exposed and vulnerable in a way that was almost thrilling if he could only stop being afraid long enough to embrace it. Yet fear clung stubbornly to his chest, a physical presence, urging him to stay put. To wait, to do nothing at all, and he wrestled with it silently, his thoughts ricocheting from one worry to the next, each one a mirror reflecting some inadequacy he had long tried to ignore, inadequacies that had followed him from school hallways to workplace corridors, from casual friendships to strained family gatherings, and even into the quiet moments alone where he allowed himself the pretense of self-assurance. But even in those moments the undercurrent of doubt pulsed relentlessly, reminding him that no matter how much he tried, no matter how carefully he measured his actions, life had a tendency to slip through the cracks of planning, to erupt in chaos when least expected, and Dwayne was painfully aware that tonight, something, though he didn't yet know what, was about to slip through, a tiny fissure that could widen into a chasm if he failed to respond correctly, and as he rose from the bed, stretching his arms above his head as if to physically shake off the invisible weight pressing down on him, he noticed the faint glow of his phone on the nightstand, a text message blinking insistently, each flash a minor alarm that demanded attention, and with a hesitant hand, he reached for it, his thumb hovering for a split second over the screen before he finally swiped, revealing a message from Kimberly, the kind of message that seemed innocuous at first, a simple "Hey, you there?" But layered beneath the casual tone was something that Dwayne couldn't quite identify. An undertone that made the hairs on the back of his neck stand up, a subtle vibration of urgency he couldn't ignore, and he typed back a reply, fingers clumsy as though they were not his own, words forming awkwardly, "Yeah, what's up?" He waited, the seconds stretching into an eternity, and then another message arrived, this one longer, a rambling explanation that Kimberly had discovered something at work, something that involved not only the company but people they both knew, people whose influence reached far beyond the cubicle-lined office floors into the fragile fabric of the city itself, and as Dwayne read the message, the plot unfolding in text became clear. An opportunity, or a threat, was emerging, and it had his name written all over it, though he had no memory of inviting such involvement, no recollection of agreeing to shoulder responsibilities that seemed far too large for anyone his age, and yet, staring at the glowing words on the screen, he felt the familiar spark of curiosity ignite, that same spark that had drawn him into trouble more times than he could count, yet always left him exhilarated, alive, and slightly terrified, and before he could overthink it, before he could succumb to the inertia of his usual caution, he typed back a hesitant, "I'm in," the words barely formed, trembling as they left his phone and into the digital void, committing him to a chain of events that would challenge every assumption he had about himself, every notion of safety and predictability he had cultivated, and he set the phone down with a deliberate slowness, as if by doing so he could somehow delay the inevitable, but the die had already been cast, and the evening air in his apartment seemed heavier now, thick with the anticipation of the unknown, the room itself pressing against him, corners darkening, the hum of the refrigerator and the distant sound of traffic outside combining into a low, insistent pulse that echoed his own racing heartbeat. And Dwayne realized that the night was no longer simply night, it was a threshold, a boundary separating the mundane from the extraordinary, a line that once crossed, could never be uncrossed, and despite every instinct urging him to retreat, he felt a pull, magnetic and unavoidable, towards the choices awaiting him, towards the tangled web that Kimberly's message had set in motion, and he thought about the people in his life, the friends who had been constant, the mentors who had guided him in small, meaningful ways, the rivals who had pushed him into moments of panic and triumph alike, and he knew that their presence, their expectations, their silent judgments, would all factor into the decisions he was about to make, shaping outcomes in ways he could not predict, and yet within that uncertainty, there was a strange, intoxicating allure, the kind of allure that had driven him to leap from rooftops as a teenager, to argue with authority figures when reason dictated silence, to chase dreams that were impossibly out of reach but so tantalizingly close, and now, In the quiet, oppressive stillness of his apartment, Dwayne felt that same pulse, that same reckless energy coursing through him, a reminder that he was still alive, still capable of action, of choice, of daring to step into realms of his life he had always skirted cautiously around, and he rose, pacing the narrow path between his bed and the small kitchenette, mind racing, spinning scenarios, imagining outcomes, visualizing confrontations, victories, humiliations, heartbreaks, reconciliations, and triumphs, each possibility a vivid thread weaving into the fabric of the narrative that was about to unfold, a narrative in which he could no longer remain a passive observer but would be forced to act, and as he considered the first steps, he thought about his own limitations, the skills he had honed over years of navigating social labyrinths, of dodging responsibilities while appearing to fulfill them, of charming his way through awkward encounters and awkward silences, of turning minor setbacks into opportunities, and he realized that none of that experience, none of that carefully constructed survival toolkit, could fully prepare him for what lay ahead, and the realization made his stomach tighten, made his hands clammy, yet also sharpened his focus, made his senses acute, attuned to every sound, every shadow, every subtle shift in the air that might hint at approaching developments, and somewhere beneath the anxiety, beneath the racing thoughts and endless projections, there was a simmering excitement, the thrill of an uncharted adventure, the kind of adventure that promised danger. Promise, challenge, and reward all at once, and Dwayne, taking a deep, steadying breath, finally allowed himself to smile, a small, wry twist of his lips, acknowledging both the peril and the opportunity, and as the clock ticked past midnight, he felt a sense of readiness, fragile but undeniable, a readiness to step out into a night that held the potential to redefine everything he thought he knew, and though he could not foresee the twists, the betrayals, the alliances, the secrets, and the dilemmas that awaited him, he understood with crystal clarity that there was no turning back, no retreat, only the path forward, and as he grabbed his jacket, slung over a chair, feeling the familiar weight of its fabric against his skin, he realized that Dwayne, the same Dwayne who had once hesitated at every doorway, every choice, every challenge, was about to embark on a journey that would demand courage, ingenuity, and perhaps, above all, an acceptance of the unpredictable, and with one final glance at the dimly lit room, at the remnants of his ordinary life scattered across floor and desk, he stepped out the door into the night, and the city greeted him with open arms, indifferent, challenging, alive, and in that instant, Dwayne felt the full weight and wonder of his own dilemma, a dilemma that would push him, test him, and ultimately transform him in ways he had only begun to imagine, and as he walked, the lights of the city flickering and reflecting in puddles left by an earlier rain, he felt the pulse of possibility thrumming in his veins, a rhythm that whispered of choices to be made, risks to be taken, alliances to be forged, secrets to be uncovered, and with each step, each breath, each fleeting thought, Dwayne knew that he was on the threshold of a story that was entirely his own, a story that would demand everything he had, challenge everything he thought he knew, and reward him, if he survived it, with a deeper understanding of himself and the world around him, and he stepped into that story with both trepidation and exhilaration, aware that the night had only just begun, aware that the first chapter of his dilemma was unfolding with every heartbeat, every flicker of neon light, every distant siren, and Dwayne, moving into the unknown, felt the electric tension of possibility and peril intertwining in a dance as old as life itself, and though he could not see the end, could not predict the consequences, could not anticipate the full scope of the choices laid before him, he walked forward with determination, curiosity, and the faint, steady glimmer of hope that somewhere within the chaos of what awaited him, he might find not only solutions but a version of himself he had long denied existence, and so the night stretched ahead, infinite in its potential, and Dwayne embraced it, each step a testament to courage, to uncertainty, to the inexorable pull of fate, and as he disappeared into the maze of streets, the city seemed to hum with awareness, as if recognizing the arrival of a man on the brink of discovery, and somewhere deep inside, Dwayne felt that the real challenge, the true dilemma, was only beginning, a complex puzzle that would test his wits, his morality, his loyalty, and his very understanding of who he was, and in that quiet, trembling anticipation, he realized that the journey he was embarking upon would define him far more than any moment of safety or comfort ever could, and with that thought, mingling with adrenaline and apprehension, he walked on, into the labyrinth of the city and the labyrinth of his own making, knowing that every decision, every hesitation, every daring move would shape the unfolding narrative, the story of Dwayne's dilemma, and as the first chapter of his night began, he felt simultaneously terrified and alive, aware that nothing would ever be the same again. As Dwayne moved deeper into the winding streets, the neon glow of late-night diners and convenience stores casting distorted reflections across rain-slick pavement, he couldn't shake the feeling that the city itself was observing him, a sentient presence that measured his hesitation, gauged his curiosity, and tested his resolve, each footstep echoing not just against concrete but against the invisible walls of expectation and consequence that had quietly accumulated over the years, and with every turn he took, he felt the delicate tension of possibility coiled tighter around him, an invisible cord that threatened to snap if he faltered even slightly, and yet he pressed on, driven by a mixture of fear, curiosity, and the faintest spark of anticipation that whispered to him that what lay ahead might be unlike anything he had ever experienced, that the world was about to tilt on its axis just enough to make him see it in entirely new dimensions, dimensions colored by intrigue, challenge, and a subtle hint of danger, and as he passed a flickering streetlight, he thought about Kimberly's text again, replaying the words in his mind, the cadence of her phrasing, the urgency masked beneath casual concern, and he realized that while he had committed to this path, he still knew almost nothing about the full scope of what she had discovered, nothing about the implications, the players, or the possible consequences, yet the decision to follow through had been made, and the weight of that commitment hung over him like a storm cloud, promising a downpour he could neither predict nor fully control, and in that awareness, Dwayne felt a strange, almost paradoxical freedom, a sense that in surrendering to the unknown, he might discover parts of himself that had long lain dormant, hidden beneath layers of routine, fear, and self-imposed limitation, and the thought stirred a cautious optimism, a flicker of courage that mingled uneasily with his ever-present anxiety, a cocktail of emotion that left him both electrified and apprehensive, poised on the precipice of the night and the choices it demanded, and as he turned into a narrow alley, a shortcut he had memorized only from past wanderings and reckless explorations, the darkness seemed to press in closer, narrowing his field of vision and sharpening his awareness of the faintest movements, the subtlest shifts in sound, the way shadows pulled and shifted, forming shapes that might or might not be real, and for a moment he felt a surge of adrenaline, a primal alertness that reminded him that this was more than mere exploration, more than a casual errand or a spontaneous adventure. This was a deliberate step into uncertainty, and the uncertainty itself was as intoxicating as it was terrifying, as he had long since discovered that the thrill of risk was inseparable from the dread of consequences, and that knowledge, both a tool and a weapon, shaped every decision he made, every hesitation, every push forward, and as he navigated the uneven cobblestones and puddles, his mind rehearsing contingencies, he realized that part of him was savoring the complexity, the puzzle of figuring out not just what awaited him, but what he himself was capable of when faced with the truly unpredictable, and that realization, small and almost imperceptible, carried with it a profound sense of anticipation, a quiet joy that existed only in the spaces where fear and excitement intertwined, and as the alley opened into a side straight line with shuttered shops and graffiti street walls, Dwayne noticed a figure leaning against a corner, partly obscured by the shadows, cigarette smoke curling lazily upward in thin wisps, and though the stranger made no move to approach, the presence alone triggered every instinct Dwayne possessed, honed through years of navigating social minefields and unexpected confrontations, and he adjusted his pace, measured his breathing, calculated potential escape routes. Even as a part of him wanted nothing more than to confront, to engage, to step into the narrative fully, as though each decision, each move, were rehearsal for a larger play whose script was being written in real time around him, and as he passed, the figure lifted a hand slightly, almost imperceptibly, a silent acknowledgement that they were aware of each other, and Dwayne returned the gesture, subtle but deliberate, aware that the smallest interactions could ripple outward into consequences he might not anticipate, and he continued walking, mind racing, evaluating the potential motives, the possible allegiances, and the implications of this brief encounter, when his phone buzzed again, a sharp, insistent vibration that made him jolt slightly, and he retrieved it, reading a new message from Kimberly, which contained a series of coordinates, a time, and a terse instruction: be there. Don't be late. Trust no one. The simplicity of the message belied its weight, and Dwayne felt a familiar mix of excitement and trepidation twist in his stomach, an electric knot of anticipation that reminded him why he had agreed to this in the first place, why he had stepped out into the night, why he had embraced the uncertainty, and with the coordinates in hand, he recalculated his path, considering shortcuts, alternative routes, and possible contingencies, each one weighted by both logic and intuition, and as he moved, he reflected on the delicate balance of trust and skepticism that defined every social interaction he had ever had, recognizing that this balance would be critical in the coming hours, as alliances could shift with a single word, a gesture, or a misstep, and betrayals, whether subtle or blatant, could define outcomes as much as cleverness or courage, and as he rounded a corner into a wider street, the lights from an open diner spilled onto the pavement, warm and inviting, a brief respite from the tension, yet even here, he felt the undercurrent of suspense, the sense that every choice carried potential consequences, that even small decisions, like whether to pause for a coffee or keep walking, could ripple outward, altering the course of events in ways he could not yet foresee, and he chose to keep moving, ignoring the pull of comfort, propelled by the sense of duty, curiosity, and self-preservation that had guided him through countless dilemmas before, though never one of this magnitude, and as he approached the outskirts of the area indicated by the coordinates, he noticed subtle signs that others had been here before him: scuffed pavement, discarded papers, faint tire marks, and the occasional flicker of movement in the distance, shadows that seemed to watch him as he advanced, and Dwayne felt a twinge of apprehension, a reminder that the night was not simply a backdrop for his adventure but an active participant, responding, adjusting, testing him, and with each step, he forced himself to focus, to breathe, to maintain the clarity of thought that could mean the difference between success and chaos, and as the final stretch approached, he spotted a low-rise building with a flickering sign, the letters partially burned out, yet still readable enough to mark the destination, and as he drew closer, he sensed that the space itself seemed to hum with anticipation, a quiet energy that hinted at secrets waiting to be revealed, challenges waiting to be faced, and decisions that would demand both intellect and instinct, and as he entered the threshold, the dim light revealed Kimberly, standing near the far wall, eyes bright and alert, a notebook clutched tightly in her hands, a mixture of anxiety and determination painted across her expression, and for a moment, Dwayne simply studied her, absorbing the gravity of the situation, the weight of responsibility that had suddenly shifted onto both of them, the realization that their actions in the next hours could define far more than their own fates, and as he stepped fully into the room, the door clicking shut behind him, he felt the first tangible pulse of adrenaline, the unmistakable awareness that the game had begun, that the rules were still being written, and that every move, every word, every glance would carry meaning beyond immediate perception, and Kimberly, noticing his hesitation, offered a faint, wry smile, the kind that communicated both relief and urgency, and without preamble, she launched into an explanation of what she had discovered, outlining connections, discrepancies, and hidden agendas, painting a complex web of intrigue that involved not only their co-workers but figures of authority who were usually untouchable, and as Dwayne listened, absorbing each detail, mapping each thread of information in his mind, he realized the enormity of what they were about to undertake, and though the stakes were high, though the potential for failure loomed large, he felt a deep, invigorating sense of purpose, the kind that had been absent from his life for far too long, and as Kimberly concluded her briefing, leaving him with the weighty decision of where to begin, how to act, and whom to trust, Dwayne knew that the night was far from over, that the path ahead was riddled with challenges, dilemmas, and unforeseen consequences, yet he also understood, with a clarity sharpened by both fear and exhilaration, that he had arrived at precisely the moment he was meant to confront, the moment in which his choices, his instincts, and his courage would define the unfolding narrative, and as he glanced at the clock, noting the precise alignment with the coordinates and the urgency of the schedule, he felt the adrenaline spike once more, a reminder that hesitation could be as dangerous as miscalculation, and with a deep, steadying breath, he squared his shoulders, met Kimberly's gaze, and prepared to step fully into the labyrinth of intrigue that awaited, aware that the night would challenge him in every conceivable way, and that his dilemma, far from simple, would test his intelligence, his morality, his loyalty, and ultimately, his very understanding of himself. And as he moved toward the first task of the evening, the weight of responsibility mingled with the thrill of discovery, and Dwayne embraced the uncertainty, ready to face the labyrinth in which every decision mattered, every shadow could conceal a secret, and every moment carried the potential to redefine everything he thought he knew about the world, the people around him, and most importantly, himself. And as the first real challenges began to present themselves, the night stretched ahead, endless in its complexity, yet somehow beckoning, inviting, daring him to step forward, to engage fully, and to confront the dilemmas that had, until now, only existed in the peripheral edges of his life, waiting for the precise moment to demand attention, and that moment had arrived, and Dwayne, heart racing and mind sharp, stepped forward with cautious determination, the first moves in what would be a night of revelation, peril, and transformation, and as the door closed behind him, the city beyond faded into insignificance, replaced by the intensity of what lay within, the unfolding puzzle that would test, challenge, and ultimately define the story of Dwayne's dilemma, a story that had only just begun, and whose outcome remained unwritten, unpredictable, and entirely his to navigate. Dwayne's mind raced as he absorbed Kimberly's briefing, the intricate web of deception, hidden alliances, and secret agendas stretching out before him like an enormous, multidimensional chessboard, each piece connected to the others in ways that demanded not just attention but strategic foresight, and as he leaned against the cold metal railing near the edge of the warehouse floor, he traced the connections with his eyes, visualizing paths of action, anticipating reactions, and trying to weigh every possible outcome against both probability and intuition, knowing full well that a single misstep could unravel the delicate balance they were attempting to navigate, and yet amidst the swirl of calculations and contingencies, a deeper, more instinctual layer of awareness thrummed in his chest, a visceral sense of danger and opportunity intertwined, reminding him that not all threats could be neutralized by logic alone, that sometimes, success depended on the ability to act decisively in the face of ambiguity, to trust a hunch, to sense the intentions of others with only subtle cues as guidance, and as he took a cautious step forward, the concrete floor echoing under his weight, he couldn't help but recall the countless scenarios he had played out in his mind over the years, scenarios that ranged from mundane workplace conflicts to near-catastrophic social blunders, and he realized that each of those experiences, though seemingly trivial at the time, had honed a kind of situational awareness that was now invaluable, that allowed him to read subtle shifts in body language, tonal inflections, and even the spacing between words in a conversation, and Kimberly, noticing his quiet contemplation, tilted her head slightly, a gesture that conveyed both curiosity and unspoken reassurance, and Dwayne returned her gaze, the silent acknowledgement passing between them serving as a fragile anchor in the storm of uncertainty, and as he studied the floor plan she had laid out. On the nearby table, the maze of rooms, corridors, and access points, he began to form a mental map, imagining movement, escape routes, points of observation, and zones of vulnerability, each calculation layered atop the last, building a complex mental lattice that offered both confidence and caution. And yet even as he organized the physical and tactical elements of the plan, another layer of thought pressed insistently into his consciousness, the human element, the unpredictable factor of individual behavior, and how easily a single person, motivated by fear, greed, or misguided loyalty, could disrupt the most meticulously constructed strategy. And Dwayne felt that familiar knot of anticipation and anxiety crawl in his stomach, a mixture of excitement and dread that reminded him he was not merely observing a scenario but participating in one that could ripple far beyond his immediate control. And as he moved closer to the table, his fingers brushing lightly over the diagram, he imagined the possibilities, the confrontations, the revelations, the betrayals, each one branching out into countless variations, and he realized that to succeed, he would need to balance logic, instinct, and emotional intelligence in ways that would test every skill he had ever cultivated, every lesson he had absorbed, and every ounce of courage he possessed. And Kimberly, sensing his internal deliberation, spoke softly, almost conspiratorially, detailing the timing of events, the sequence of actions, and the subtle signals that would indicate whether their assumptions were correct or dangerously flawed. And as Dwayne absorbed the information, he couldn't help but marvel at the complexity, the sheer audacity of the unfolding scenario. Yet the challenge invigorated him, stoked the fire within him that had lain dormant, and reminded him of why he had always been drawn to situations that demanded both wit and nerve, because it was in the crucible of high-stakes choice, in the collision of risk and opportunity, that he felt most alive, most present, most fully himself. And as he considered the first move, he realized that hesitation could be fatal, that overthinking, second-guessing, or waiting for clarity that might never arrive could cost them everything. And so he took a deep, measured breath, centering himself, pushing aside doubt, and allowed instinct to guide him, recognizing that while strategy was essential, adaptability and responsiveness would be the ultimate determinants of success. And as he lifted his gaze from the table, he noticed subtle changes in the environment. The flicker of light shifting, a shadow moving across the wall, the faint creak of a door hinge, all small, seemingly insignificant details that carried the potential to alter the course of events if ignored. And he felt that familiar rush of adrenaline, a clarity that sharpened his senses, focused his attention, and aligned his thoughts with the demands of the moment. And Kimberly, watching him, seemed to sense this shift, offering a nod that conveyed both trust and understanding. And Dwayne knew that from this point forward, their collaboration would hinge not just on planning, but on intuition, communication, and the unspoken recognition that every action mattered, every word carried weight, every hesitation could be exploited. And he felt a thrill at the magnitude of the responsibility, a mixture of fear and exhilaration that made his heart beat faster and his mind race. And as he began to outline their first steps, the sequence of moves they would employ to gather information, test assumptions, and establish a foothold in the tangled web of intrigue, he realized that the night ahead would demand not just precision but resilience, patience, and an uncanny ability to read between the lines of human behavior, to perceive intentions masked by politeness, deception, or distraction. And as he spoke, articulating the initial plan to Kimberly, he could see her absorbing every detail, nodding, adjusting, questioning, and contributing in ways that reflected her own intelligence, creativity, and adaptability. And together, they formed a tentative but powerful alliance, a partnership forged in the pressure of circumstance and the necessity of cooperation. And as Dwayne felt the weight of the plan settling into motion, he was acutely aware that the path forward was fraught with uncertainty, that the variables were numerous and unpredictable, and yet within that uncertainty lay opportunity. And it was precisely this interplay of risk and possibility that defined the dilemma, the challenge, and ultimately, the allure of the night. and as they moved from the table to the shadows along the perimeter of the room, careful to avoid detection, careful to move with the precision their plan demanded, Dwayne felt a heightened awareness, a sense of being fully present, every sense attuned to subtle cues, every instinct engaged in constant evaluation and adjustment, and as they approached their first point of action, a side door that offered access to an inner hallway, he felt the pulse of anticipation grow stronger, the knowledge that this was not merely a physical space but a threshold into the unknown, where decisions would carry immediate consequences, and the consequences, in turn, would ripple outward, affecting not just themselves but the larger network of people, situations, and forces involved in the web they were beginning to navigate. And as he carefully opened the door, the faint creak of the hinge sounding louder than expected in the silence, he was immediately aware of the risk, the fragility of their position, and the need for absolute focus, absolute composure, and absolute clarity, and yet even amidst the tension, he felt the surge of excitement, the thrill of engaging directly with the challenge, the intoxicating sense of purpose and immediacy that had been absent from his life for far too long, and as they stepped into the hallway, moving with measured pace, their senses heightened, their minds alert, every detail of the environment catalogued and assessed, Dwayne reflected on the nature of dilemmas, how they often arrive not in moments of clarity but in moments of ambiguity, where the path was neither obvious nor safe, and success required the careful calibration of intellect, instinct, courage, and adaptability, and he recognized that the events of the night would test all of these qualities, would demand that he confront fears, negotiate tensions, and respond to the unexpected with precision and creativity. And as they navigated the corridors, approaching the first room marked in Kimberly's notes, the tension in the air was palpable, almost tangible, as though the space itself was aware of their presence, aware of the decisions being made, aware of the unfolding narrative in which they were participants, and Dwayne felt that familiar rush of awareness, the acute consciousness of being fully alive, fully engaged, fully responsible, and as he reached for the doorknob, his hand steady despite the rapid pulse of adrenaline in his veins, he knew that the next moments would define not just the outcome of this mission but also the contours of his own character, his own capacity for judgment, courage, and strategic thought, and he allowed himself a brief, almost imperceptible smile, acknowledging both the danger and the exhilaration, the uncertainty and the clarity, and with one careful, deliberate motion, he opened the door, stepping into the room with Kimberly at his side, fully aware that every choice, every action, and every observation in the coming minutes would set the tone for the night, the challenge, and the intricate puzzle that was Dwayne's dilemma, and as the light of the room fell upon them, revealing both opportunity and potential peril, he felt the convergence of fear, determination, and exhilaration, a fusion that would drive him forward, sharpen his focus, and propel him into the intricate, unpredictable, and transformative events that awaited, and in that precise moment, Dwayne understood that he had crossed a threshold from which there was no retreat, that the dilemma had fully claimed him, and that the story, unpredictable, complex, and alive, was now entirely his to navigate, confront, and ultimately shape. As Dwayne stepped fully into the room, the dim overhead light revealing stacks of papers, scattered files, and the faint smell of damp carpet, he felt a rush of calculated awareness wash over him, a familiar sensation that had accompanied him through countless minor crises but never on a scale this intense, and immediately he began scanning the space, noting exits, potential obstacles, vantage points, and even subtle environmental cues that might hint at the presence of others or hidden information, while Kimberly moved methodically to the far side of the room, opening a drawer and carefully extracting a manila folder, the rustle of paper loud in the tense silence, and Dwayne realized in that instant that the stakes were higher than he had initially imagined, higher not just because of the material evidence they were seeking but because of the human factors involved, the unpredictable reactions of those who had a vested interest in keeping the contents hidden, and as his eyes adjusted to the shadows, he spotted a small camera tucked near the ceiling, lens angled in their direction, a silent sentinel that had likely observed many before them but now faced their intrusion, and instinctively, he crouched slightly, moving in a deliberate, fluid motion, considering how to neutralize or avoid detection, while Kimberly, absorbed in the folder, murmured details of what she was seeing, her voice low but urgent, laying out names, dates, discrepancies, and subtle patterns that suggested a network of manipulation reaching far beyond the apparent scope of the office, and Dwayne, absorbing every word, every nuance, felt his mind ignite with possibilities, connections, and strategies, mapping mental routes of action, contingency plans, and potential responses to any unexpected developments, and as he crouched near the camera, he debated whether to disable it or simply record its presence in memory, understanding that even a single misstep could compromise not only their immediate mission but their safety, and yet, amidst the pressure, he felt the thrill of the challenge, the exhilarating recognition that he was operating in a space where intelligence, adaptability, and courage intersected, a space that demanded the best of his faculties, and he allowed himself a brief, private smile at the irony that the very skills he had honed through minor social manipulation and careful observation in school, in work, and in life were now directly applicable to a high-stakes scenario where the consequences were tangible, immediate, and potentially dangerous, and as he moved to the corner of the room, he noted the patterns of shadows, the uneven lighting, the small reflective surfaces that could reveal motion, and he adjusted his path to minimize exposure, relying on a mixture of intuition, practice, and situational awareness, while Kimberly, flipping through the folder, began identifying specific documents that held the most potential significance, her fingers pausing over names and annotations, and as she spoke quietly, she outlined a sequence for extracting information without alerting any distant observers, creating a delicate choreography of movement, attention, and timing, and Dwayne, nodding in understanding, synchronized his own actions with hers, internalizing the rhythm, the flow, the timing that would allow them to operate efficiently and discreetly, and as they worked, he reflected on the nature of dilemmas, realizing that while they were inherently complex, they were also the crucible through which character, skill, and ingenuity were tested, and that the true challenge lay not simply in achieving an objective but in navigating the unpredictable landscape of human behavior, hidden motives, and unforeseen consequences, and as he crouched near a shadowed cabinet, eyes darting to the door and the camera, he considered the possibilities of discovery, confrontation, and evasion, imagining scenarios where a single misjudgment could cascade into exposure, conflict, or failure, and yet, in that intense awareness, he felt the paradoxical thrill of being fully alive, of operating at the edge of perception and action, of engaging with a reality that demanded both analytical precision and instinctual response, and Kimberly, sensing his focus, gave a subtle nod, a silent affirmation that they were in sync, that their coordinated movements had thus far maintained the integrity of their operation, and as she reached for a particularly sensitive document, he felt the weight of responsibility, the gravity of potential discovery, and the intricate web of cause and effect that hung over every decision, reminding him that vigilance, adaptability, and rapid decision-making were paramount, and as he mentally rehearsed contingencies for a sudden interruption, a noise from the corridor, or an unexpected entry, he realized that the ability to improvise while maintaining the overarching plan was a skill he had long overlooked, underestimated, and now found indispensable, and the realization fueled both his caution and his confidence, sharpening his focus to a degree that allowed him to perceive the minutest details, a paper slightly out of place, a door ajar, a shadow shifting with subtle irregularity, each one a potential indicator of risk or opportunity, and as Kimberly carefully photographed key documents, the flickering light catching the edges of her concentration, Dwayne felt the pulse of time pressing against him, each second weighted with consequence, each movement significant in the silent calculus of success and survival, and he found a quiet rhythm in the tension, a cadence that allowed him to balance caution with momentum, awareness with action, and anticipation with execution, and as the task unfolded, he contemplated the interconnectedness of information, the power inherent in knowledge, and the subtle influence wielded by those who understood and manipulated the flow of both, and he recognized that their current operation was only a fragment of a larger, more complex system, one that extended beyond the walls of the room, beyond the reach of immediate observation, and into networks of interest, influence, and authority, and understanding this, he felt the dual weight and thrill of engagement, the responsibility to act wisely and the exhilarating potential to achieve meaningful insight, and as he and Kimberly carefully packed selected documents, she murmured potential hypotheses, alternative interpretations, and likely reactions from those who might discover their actions, and Dwayne, integrating each piece of analysis, considered the tactical implications, the human dimensions, and the timing necessary to maximize advantage while minimizing exposure, and as the final document was secured, he allowed himself a brief moment to observe the room, noting the traces of prior activity, the subtle indications of habitual behavior, and the faint evidence of previous intrusion, each clue a small but significant piece of the larger puzzle, and he realized that while the immediate task was complete, the broader challenge, the intricate dilemma of how to use, protect, and interpret this information, was only beginning, a reminder that knowledge is power, but power is always accompanied by responsibility, risk, and the unpredictable actions of others, and as they prepared to exit the room, Dwayne felt a heightened sense of awareness, a keen sensitivity to the environmental cues, a readiness to respond to any unforeseen variables, and the weight of consequence, potential and actual, press in with tangible presence, sharpening every sense, heightening every intuition, and as they moved through the hallway, the subtle creak of the floor beneath their feet, the soft hum of distant machinery, and the faint echo of a ventilation system all became data points, signals to be read, interpreted, and acted upon, and Dwayne recognized that their operation was no longer just a physical maneuver but a psychological and strategic engagement with both the environment and the unseen observers whose presence might be detected only through the subtlest shifts in pattern, and as they reached the exit, the faint glow of the city lights spilling through the doorway, he felt the culmination of awareness, skill, and instinct coalesce into a single, coherent state of readiness, a state in which every possibility, every contingency, every potential hazard was accounted for, at least as far as human perception allowed, and in that awareness, he also felt the subtle thrill of empowerment, the intoxicating recognition that he was actively shaping outcomes, not merely reacting to circumstance, and as the cool night air brushed against his face, carrying the distant sounds of traffic, footsteps, and urban life, he inhaled deeply, grounding himself in the immediate reality while anticipating the challenges, dilemmas, and decisions that the coming hours would demand, and with Kimberly at his side, equally alert and engaged, Dwayne felt the palpable tension of opportunity and risk, the magnetic pull of uncertainty intertwined with purpose, and he understood that the night was far from over, that the true dilemmas, ethical, strategic, and personal, were only beginning to emerge, each demanding careful navigation, quick thinking, and an unflinching commitment to action, and as they disappeared into the shadows of the city, leaving the confines of the room behind, he felt the full weight and exhilaration of the journey ahead, aware that every choice, every step, every subtle observation would shape the unfolding narrative of Dwayne's dilemma, a narrative as complex, unpredictable, and compelling as the city itself, and he embraced it fully, prepared to confront the challenges, uncover the secrets, and navigate the labyrinthine consequences that awaited. Dwayne and Kimberly emerged into the night, the cool air brushing against their faces, carrying the muted scents of asphalt, wet leaves, and distant street food, and immediately the contrast with the enclosed tension of the warehouse heightened his senses, each sound, each flicker of light, each passing shadow registering with precise clarity, the city itself now seeming like a participant in their unfolding plan, a living organism reacting to their presence, and Dwayne felt the familiar pulse of anticipation and alertness coil through him, a combination of adrenaline, curiosity, and strategic awareness that had become second nature in moments of risk. And yet tonight, unlike previous adventures, the stakes were higher, the consequences more tangible, and the variables more unpredictable. And as they navigated the uneven sidewalks, careful to avoid security cameras, street patrols, and casual observers who might inadvertently compromise their movement, Dwayne's mind mapped multiple contingencies, anticipating challenges, countermeasures, and the subtle shifts in the human element that could affect their objectives. And Kimberly, moving in perfect synchrony, adjusted her pace to maintain alignment, her eyes scanning the environment with the same intensity and focus he applied, and together, they created a tacit rhythm, an unspoken understanding that allowed them to operate as a unit without verbal commands, a choreography born of necessity. And as they turned a corner into a quieter district, the faint hum of distant neon signs flickering in puddles and along brick facades, Dwayne reflected on the complexity of the dilemma they faced, how it was no longer simply about gathering evidence or observing patterns but about navigating a matrix of human relationships, hidden agendas, and moral ambiguities that demanded both intuition and analysis. And he realized that while logic could guide action, the ability to read subtle cues, facial expressions, gestures, timing, and tone would be equally essential to achieving success. And as they approached a small alleyway leading toward the next location identified in Kimberly's notes, he slowed slightly, listening, observing, feeling the rhythm of the city around them, the distant honk of a taxi, the murmur of a late-night conversation, the echo of footsteps against metal grates, and in each sound, he detected potential information, signals that could indicate the presence of others, their intentions, or potential obstacles. And Kimberly, sensing his pause, placed a steadying hand on his shoulder, a silent affirmation that they were synchronized, that the moment demanded caution without hesitation. And Dwayne nodded subtly, appreciating the unspoken communication that allowed them to operate efficiently without compromising their awareness. And as they entered the alley, narrow, shadowed, and lined with fire escapes and trash bins, he noted every detail, every potential hiding place, every reflective surface that could betray movement, and he adjusted their path to minimize exposure while maximizing observation. And Kimberly, holding the folder tightly, whispered observations, possibilities, and projections, a running commentary that guided their decisions and reinforced their situational awareness. And as they moved deeper, Dwayne felt the heightened tension of operating in a space that was both familiar and unpredictable, a cityscape he had walked countless times but never under these conditions, and the mixture of calculated risk and adrenaline sharpened his senses to the point where he felt almost hyper-aware, noticing patterns in the placement of graffiti, the subtle marks on walls, the slight shifts in light as lamps flickered or signs buzzed, each of which could indicate movement, surveillance, or environmental cues relevant to their mission. And as they reached the end of the alley, a modest door partially obscured by shadows, Dwayne instinctively scanned the perimeter, noting potential entry points, exit routes, and points of observation. And Kimberly quietly enumerated her own assessment of the situation, highlighting vulnerabilities, potential alarms, and likely reactions from anyone monitoring the location. And Dwayne, integrating this real-time analysis, mapped a precise sequence of steps for entry, movement, and initial investigation, while simultaneously preparing contingencies for retreat or confrontation if their presence were detected. And as he reached for the doorknob, he paused, taking a deep breath, focusing on the immediate physical and strategic environment, the rhythms of the city beyond, and the complex mental calculations that now define his state of mind. And as he turned the knob and eased the door open, a faint squeal of metal resisted his movement, and he froze for a split second, listening intently for any signs of response. But the room beyond remained silent, dimly lit, and seemingly unoccupied, and they stepped inside, careful to avoid disturbing papers, fragile equipment, or any other object that might signal their presence. and immediately Dwayne began a visual sweep of the interior, cataloging furniture, documents, and potential hazards, while Kimberly moved toward a desk near the far wall, lifting folders, flipping pages, photographing key documents, and quietly annotating observations, her movements precise, deliberate, and methodical, and Dwayne, remaining near the entrance, monitored both their immediate environment and potential points of external observation, aware that the building's layout, ventilation, and acoustic properties could all influence the success of their mission, and he reflected on the paradox of their situation, the tension between proactive action and cautious observation, between seizing opportunity and mitigating risk, and he felt the adrenaline sharpen his focus, heighten his perception, and enhance his capacity for rapid decision-making. And as Kimberly whispered a particularly significant observation, a connection between two influential figures previously thought unrelated, Dwayne realized the potential implications, the cascading effects that could result from their discovery, and he felt a mixture of exhilaration, responsibility, and apprehension, understanding that while this information could provide leverage, insight, and opportunity, it could equally provoke danger, retaliation, or exposure, and as they gathered the most crucial evidence, Dwayne continued his internal mapping of strategic contingencies, scenarios, and alternative courses of action, calculating potential responses, misdirections, and manipulations that might be required to navigate the unfolding situation successfully, and he noted how critical timing, sequencing, and coordination were, as any lapse could compromise the operation, the integrity of the evidence, or their personal safety, and as they prepared to exit the room, he took a final sweep of the environment, noting subtle clues that suggested past activity, patterns of movement, and environmental characteristics that could influence future operations, and Kimberly, equally aware of the weight of the moment, secured the folder, adjusted her movements to maintain discretion, and they moved toward the door, silent and synchronized, stepping into the alley once more with acute awareness of the urban environment, the flow of traffic, pedestrian movement, and the potential for surveillance. And as they retraced their steps toward a secondary location that would allow them to analyze the evidence, Dwayne felt the familiar thrill of risk, the intoxicating interplay of uncertainty, strategy, and consequence, the heightened awareness that comes when knowledge, opportunity, and danger converge, and he understood that the night's challenges were only beginning, that each decision would cascade into the next, shaping the narrative in ways neither he nor Kimberly could yet fully anticipate. And as they paused in a quiet courtyard, the city lights glinting off damp surfaces and casting long, distorted shadows, Dwayne allowed himself a brief reflection on the nature of dilemmas, realizing that they often require a balance of courage, calculation, adaptability, and intuition, and that success is as much about perception, timing, and alignment with the environment as it is about knowledge, skill, or information. And as he and Kimberly moved forward, navigating the next sequence of streets and alleys, he felt the convergence of fear, focus, and exhilaration, a mixture that sharpened his awareness, clarified his thinking, and reinforced the gravity of the challenge, and he knew that the night would demand resilience, strategic insight, and unwavering attention, and as they reached the location identified as the next critical node in Kimberly's analysis, Dwayne understood with unmistakable clarity that the unfolding events were no longer mere tasks or curiosities but a series of interconnected decisions and actions that would define the trajectory of both their immediate objectives and the broader narrative of the dilemmas they faced, and he embraced the challenge, aware that each moment, observation, and choice would be significant, and that the night had become an arena in which intellect, instinct, and courage were tested in equal measure. And as they approached the threshold, the weight of anticipation pressed against him, the thrill of engagement surged, and Dwayne, with Kimberly beside him, took a final steadying breath, ready to navigate the labyrinthine sequence of obstacles, opportunities, and revelations that lay ahead, fully immersed in the unfolding story of Dwayne's dilemma, and fully aware that the night was far from over, that every second would demand clarity, decisiveness, and a keen understanding of the interplay between risk, information, and human behavior, and as they stepped forward together, the door creaking slightly as it opened, Dwayne felt the electric pulse of the unknown surge through him. The sense that the narrative had reached a point of irreversible momentum, and that the choices, dilemmas, and revelations ahead would test everything he had learned, everything he thought he knew, and ultimately, everything he was capable of, and he embraced it fully, stepping into the next stage of the night with eyes wide, mind sharp, and heart steady, ready to face the intricate, unpredictable, and high-stakes reality of Dwayne's dilemma. Dwayne felt the subtle shift in energy as he and Kimberly crossed the threshold into the next space, a narrow office that smelled faintly of old paper, cleaning solution, and the lingering hint of tobacco smoke, and immediately his senses sharpened, the rhythm of his heartbeat syncing with the soft creak of the floorboards beneath his shoes, the low hum of the ventilation system above, and the muted sounds of the city beyond the thick glass windows, creating a layered soundtrack that demanded full attention, and as he scanned the room, noting desk placement, chair orientation, filing cabinets, and even the pattern of light through the blinds, he recognized the familiar interplay between opportunity and risk, understanding that each detail, no matter how minor, could influence the outcome of their objective, and Kimberly, already moving toward the center of the room, began laying out documents and cross-referencing notes with meticulous care, her focus absolute, a quiet intensity that matched his own, and Dwayne felt a surge of reassurance and shared purpose, recognizing that their collaboration, forged in the heat of urgency and high stakes, had created a subtle but critical synchronization, a shared rhythm that allowed them to anticipate each other's actions, respond to unforeseen variables, and navigate uncertainty with greater efficiency. And as he bent down to retrieve a folder partially hidden beneath a chair, he noticed slight abrasions on the floor, a subtle indentation in the carpet, and faint smudges on a nearby window sill, all small indicators that suggested recent activity, and each one became a data point, a clue that he filed away mentally for later consideration, recognizing that success often depended not just on direct action but on the careful accumulation and interpretation of environmental intelligence. And as Kimberly carefully photographed a key page, whispering potential implications, Dwayne's mind raced, mapping connections, anticipating reactions from multiple stakeholders, and visualizing scenarios in which the information could be used strategically or mishandled with severe consequences, and he realized that the night had transformed into a complex interplay of tactics, human behavior, and emergent strategy, where precision, observation, and improvisation were equally critical, and as they moved through the space, securing and cataloging materials, Dwayne reflected on the subtle art of risk management, the ways in which perception, timing, and adaptability could dictate outcomes as much as knowledge or preparation, and he felt both exhilaration and a faint twinge of fear, a combination that heightened his awareness and sharpened his instincts, reminding him that every moment was significant, every decision carried weight, and every action could reverberate far beyond the immediate context. And as he placed the final document into their secure folder, Kimberly murmured an observation about a pattern of correspondence that suggested hidden relationships between certain individuals in the company, the potential ramifications immense, and Dwayne's mind immediately began tracing networks of influence, potential conflicts, and the subtle signals that could indicate loyalty, deception, or manipulation, and he felt a deep sense of engagement, the kind that comes only when one is fully immersed in a high-stakes situation that demands constant evaluation, rapid adjustment, and an unflinching commitment to both analysis and action. And as they prepared to leave, Dwayne conducted a final sweep, checking vantage points, escape routes, and potential hazards, integrating the physical environment with the intelligence they had gathered, and he felt the weight of responsibility, the gravity of the implications, and the electrifying sense that the night was far from over, that the dilemmas and decisions ahead would require the full application of his skills, judgment, and composure, and as They exited the office into a dimly lit corridor, the city beyond a silent observer. He felt the pulse of uncertainty, the constant oscillation between opportunity and danger, and the subtle thrill of engagement that came from being fully present in a situation where knowledge, perception, and action intersected. And Kimberly, moving with equal care, whispered potential contingencies, alternative interpretations, and suggested next steps, and Dwayne integrated each input with his own assessment, recognizing that the interplay of their perspectives created a more nuanced and effective understanding of both the immediate space and the broader implications. And as they navigated toward the next location, a network of streets, alleys, and service entrances known only to a few, Dwayne maintained hyper-awareness, noting shifts in shadows, subtle reflections of light, patterns in the distant traffic, and even the cadence of footsteps that could signal the approach of observers. And he felt the exhilarating yet disorienting sense that every variable, every microcosm of movement, could hold significance. And as they approached a particularly narrow passage that served as a shortcut, he slowed, crouched slightly, and signaled Kimberly to follow his movement pattern, an unspoken coordination that allowed them to move with maximum discretion and minimal exposure. And as they passed the threshold, he noted subtle signs of human activity, footprints in damp soil, faint traces of discarded paper, and marks on nearby walls that suggested both caution and urgency from prior occupants. And he catalogued each one, integrating these observations with their current objectives, contingency plans, and the broader strategic narrative. And Kimberly, whispering a note about a particular set of correspondence she had discovered, suggested a possible opportunity to leverage information for a strategic advantage. And Dwayne, processing the implications, mapped potential outcomes, weighing risk, reward, and probability with meticulous care, understanding that their next steps would be decisive, shaping not only the immediate mission but the trajectory of the complex web of intrigue they had begun to unravel. And as they emerged from the passage into a quieter street, the distant glow of neon signs illuminating wet asphalt, Dwayne felt a wave of focused anticipation, the awareness that the night demanded both tactical precision and adaptive strategy, and that each choice, each observation, and each interaction would carry consequences that extended beyond their immediate perception. And as they approached the designated meeting point indicated in Kimberly's notes, a small, partially obscured cafe still open at this hour, he noted the positioning of potential observers, the pattern of pedestrian traffic, and the subtle cues in the environment that suggested both opportunity and risk. And he prepared mentally for the next phase, understanding that success would require not only careful coordination, awareness, and judgment but also the capacity to improvise in response to rapidly evolving circumstances. And as they entered the cafe, a quiet, low-lit space with the hum of a single late-night patron and a barista moving methodically behind the counter, Dwayne immediately noted seating arrangements, potential egress points, and areas that could provide concealment or observation, while Kimberly secured the folder and began cross-referencing notes with their previous findings. And he felt a familiar rush of analytical engagement, the intermingling of adrenaline, awareness, and strategic calculation. As each detail of the environment became data, each interaction a potential variable, and the stakes, though unseen by the casual observer, were tangible, pressing, and immediate. And as they settled at a corner table, Dwayne allowed a moment to consider the broader implications of the night's events, the delicate balance between information acquisition, tactical movement, and human psychology, and he realized that the success of their endeavor depended not just on the evidence in their hands but on their capacity to navigate ambiguity, anticipate reaction, and leverage the subtle power dynamics they were beginning to discern. And as Kimberly laid out her analysis, highlighting key relationships, discrepancies, and possible causes of action, Dwayne integrated her insights with his own observations, constructing a dynamic mental model that would guide their next steps. And as he considered the options, weighing immediate action against the need for patience, discretion, and tactical advantage, he felt a familiar, invigorating tension that came with high-stakes decision-making, the thrill of engaging fully with a problem that demanded intellect, awareness, and courage, and as the night stretched onward, the complexities of the dilemma expanding with each new insight, each subtle cue, each decision point. Dwayne understood with absolute clarity that the unfolding events were transforming him, challenging him, and demanding his complete presence, and that the true measure of success would lie not in mere information gathered but in the capacity to navigate, respond, and act with precision, awareness, and strategic foresight, and with that understanding, he and Kimberly prepared to move forward, fully aware of the challenges, stakes, and consequences that awaited, fully immersed in the unfolding narrative of Dwayne's dilemma, and ready to confront, adapt, and advance through the intricate web of circumstances that the night had presented, knowing that every step, every decision, and every observation carried weight, and that the path ahead would test their intellect, resolve, and ingenuity in ways that would defy not only the mission but the very contours of their own capabilities. And as they rose from their seats and prepared to exit into the quiet night once more, Dwayne felt the familiar rush of tension, focus, and exhilaration, and embraced it fully, aware that the night was far from over, and that the true dilemmas, challenges, and revelations were only beginning to unfold. Dwayne and Kimberly slipped out of the quiet cafe into the cool night air, the muffled sounds of the city stretching and bending around them as if alive, each echo, each distant car horn, each irregular footstep carrying subtle information that Dwayne instinctively catalogued, the rhythm of the urban landscape merging with the heightened cadence of his own heartbeat, and immediately, he sensed the delicate tension between observation and action, the invisible currents of human presence that shifted with every step, a reminder that even in seemingly deserted streets, the world was never truly still, and that the consequences of any oversight could ripple unpredictably, touching outcomes that had yet to emerge. And as they moved toward the next location noted in Kimberly's dossier, Dwayne's mind raced, integrating environmental cues, behavioral patterns, and the broader implications of their mission, the complex interplay of strategy, caution, and improvisation unfolding like a mental chessboard where every move demanded careful anticipation of potential responses, and yet, amid the meticulous calculations, a visceral thrill surged through him, the intoxicating awareness that the night's challenges were not only testing their intellect but also their courage, intuition, and composure, and Kimberly, walking just a step ahead, seemed attuned to the same energies, her movements deliberate, her attention acute, as she scanned the surroundings, cross-referencing the urban landscape with her mental and written map, noting entrances, exits, potential observers, and environmental anomalies, and together, their steps formed a silent coordination, a subtle rhythm that allowed them to navigate the streets without drawing attention, to act with discretion while remaining fully aware, and as they turned a narrow alleyway, Dwayne noted the interplay of shadows, the faint glint of light off damp surfaces, and the irregular pattern of graffiti that suggested recent activity, and each detail was mentally logged as part of the operational calculus, while Kimberly whispered a potential insight, connecting a pattern from their earlier documents to an observed environmental cue, and Dwayne immediately evaluated the implications, considering both immediate tactical options and longer-term strategic maneuvers, the mental juggling of variables sharpening his focus to an almost surgical precision, and as they approached the outer edge of the designated zone, he detected subtle changes in the atmosphere, the muted sound of distant voices, a flicker of movement in a window, the almost imperceptible vibration of the ground under a passing vehicle, and he realized with heightened clarity that their presence had to be precise, deliberate, and responsive, every micro-movement potentially influencing outcomes beyond immediate perception. And as they paused behind a low brick wall to survey the area, Kimberly quietly outlined the sequence of events she anticipated, the actions of potential stakeholders, and the hidden relationships she had discerned from the documents, and Dwayne integrated this information with his own environmental and tactical analysis, mentally plotting contingencies for interception, misdirection, and rapid extraction, understanding that the success of their mission relied on both coordination and the ability to improvise in real time. And as they slip across the open space, moving toward a discreet service entrance that provided access to the building of interest, Dwayne's senses were in overdrive. Every sound, every shadow, every reflected light, each subtle cue potentially signaling either safety or threat, and as Kimberly reached the door first and gently pushed it open, he remained alert, observing the surrounding perimeters, evaluating potential lines of sight, escape routes, and vulnerabilities, while simultaneously cataloging opportunities for gathering further evidence once inside, and the room beyond revealed a maze of corridors, small offices, and storage spaces, each presenting both challenges and strategic possibilities, and Dwayne felt the familiar mixture of exhilaration and pressure that came with navigating environments where stakes were high, uncertainty was constant, and success depended on both intellect and instinct. And as they stepped carefully through the first corridor, he noted signage, door labels, and environmental cues that suggested patterns of use, timing, and occupancy, all of which would influence their approach to key targets. And Kimberly, moving in synchrony, whispered observations, noting subtle irregularities in decor, lighting, and objects that could indicate prior activity or concealment of critical materials, and Dwayne filed each piece mentally, integrating it into an evolving situational map, a dynamic framework that allowed for rapid adaptation, risk mitigation, and strategic action. And as they reached the first significant office marked in the notes, Dwayne paused to assess the space, noting points of observation, potential hiding places, and the configuration of doors and windows, and he communicated a silent signal to Kimberly, who adjusted her approach accordingly, maintaining both discretion and efficiency. And as she began photographing documents and cataloging folders, Dwayne monitored the environment, noting the subtle hum of the ventilation system, faint footsteps in distant corridors, and irregular reflections of light, all indicators that could alert them to the presence of others, and he prepared mental contingencies for immediate response to any unexpected intrusion, maintaining awareness, composure, and precision. And as Kimberly uncovered a particularly significant folder, Dwayne's pulse quickened, recognizing the potential ramifications of the information contained within, not just for their immediate objective but for the broader narrative of influence, power, and deception that the documents implied. And as they carefully documented, cross-referenced, and secured each piece, Dwayne's mind raced with the interconnected possibilities, the potential reactions of those implicated, the ripple effects of disclosure, the leverage that could be gained, and the risks that accompanied each revelation. And he realized with stark clarity that the night had become a continuous series of decisions, each layered with consequence, each demanding analysis, intuition, and action. And as they prepared to move to the next room, Dwayne noted a faint scent of cigarette smoke, a subtle vibration underfoot, and a small glimmer of light that reflected off a metallic surface, indicators that suggested the presence of another individual, and he adjusted their movement accordingly, ensuring that they remained both inconspicuous and prepared for immediate response, while Kimberly whispered adjustments to the plan, noting potential avenues for minimizing exposure and maximizing information collection. And together they moved through the complex, synchronized in movement, thought, and anticipation, navigating hallways, corners, and small offices with a fluid precision born of acute awareness, shared purpose, and continuous adaptation. And as they reached the stairwell leading to a mezzanine level, Dwayne's mind expanded the operational map, incorporating vertical space, line-of-sight considerations, and potential points of vulnerability or opportunity. And Kimberly's analysis of previous document patterns suggested likely points of interest above them, and he felt the familiar surge of focus, the exhilarating tension of anticipation, and the constant mental engagement required to balance observation, action, and contingency. And as they ascended, each step calculated, Dwayne noted variations in stair treads, the faint squeak of one step, potential observation angles from windows or vents, and subtle environmental cues that could influence their operation, and as they reached the mezzanine, the dim light revealed several desks with scattered papers, chairs, and personal items, a tableau of routine that could mask critical evidence or conceal potential hazards, and Dwayne's pulse quickened. With the awareness that every movement, every glance, every subtle adjustment of posture or path could influence outcomes in ways that were immediate, tangible, and irreversible, and Kimberly, methodically analyzing documents, whispered observations that connected patterns across time, personnel, and location, suggesting relationships and motives that were not immediately visible. And Dwayne integrated each insight into his situational map, recalibrating their approach, sequencing movements, and assessing risk and reward with precise awareness, and as they prepared to exit the mezzanine, he noted the alignment of sight lines, potential egress points, and environmental indicators that suggested both opportunity and hazard, and as they descended carefully, synchronized in pace and attention, he realized that the night's events had already tested their skills, awareness, and resolve, and that the coming hours would demand even greater precision, adaptability, and composure, and that every choice, every observation, every subtle interaction would carry consequences, and that the narrative of Dwayne's dilemma was unfolding not in a linear sequence but as a dynamic interplay of strategy, human behavior, and environmental responsiveness, and with each step, he embraced the challenge fully, aware that the night had become both crucible and revelation, and that the choices they made now would define not just the immediate mission but the trajectory of all subsequent events, and as they stepped into the final corridor leading to the location identified as the key node in Kimberly's notes, Dwayne felt the full weight, thrill, and intensity of the dilemma, and embraced the moment, knowing that they were fully immersed in the unfolding story, and that every decision, observation, and action would shape the outcomes of Dwayne's dilemma in ways they could not yet fully anticipate, and that the night's challenges, revelations, and consequences were only beginning to take form. Dwayne felt a subtle tightening in his chest as he and Kimberly approached the final corridor leading to the designated key area, the faint hum of fluorescent lights above blending with the distant, irregular noises of the city beyond, creating a layered acoustic environment that demanded full attention, and as he scanned the walls, floor, and ceiling for potential indicators of presence, motion, or observation, he catalogued everything with methodical precision, each sound, each shadow, each reflective gleam registering as a piece of data that could influence the outcome of their next actions, and Kimberly, moving in perfect synchrony, whispered observations about potential points of vulnerability, environmental anomalies, and behavioral patterns they might anticipate, and Dwayne integrated her insights instantly, constructing a dynamic mental map that allowed him to navigate with both caution and efficiency, and as they neared the final doorway, he paused, feeling the familiar interplay of fear, anticipation, and exhilaration, the tension that accompanies moments of high stakes when information, human behavior, and environmental variables converge, and he knew that the coming moments would demand both analytical precision and instinctual responsiveness, and as he reached for the doorknob, he noted the faint resistance in the mechanism, the slight shift in temperature near the threshold, and the subtle vibration transmitted through the floorboards, all indicators of environmental context, potential hazard, or concealed presence, and he adjusted his grip, his stance, and his awareness accordingly, signaling to Kimberly with a subtle nod to proceed in tandem, and as the door opened with measured caution, the room beyond revealed itself in dim illumination, a cluttered space filled with desks, file cabinets, scattered papers, and personal items, and immediately Dwayne's eyes darted across the environment, noting points of observation, potential escape routes, and the subtle cues of human activity that could indicate presence, intent, or opportunity, and Kimberly moved toward a central desk, laying out folders, photographing critical documents, and whispering detailed insights that link previous findings with potential lines of inquiry, and Dwayne, maintaining a heightened perimeter awareness, catalogued everything from the placement of chairs to the alignment of blinds, each detail contributing to the evolving operational map in his mind, and as Kimberly uncovered a particularly significant folder, detailing communications, financial transfers, and subtle patterns of influence, Dwayne felt the pulse of anticipation surge, recognizing the potential ramifications not just for their immediate objectives but for the larger network of individuals, decisions, and hidden agendas connected to the data, and he mentally traced potential outcomes, reaction chains, and leverage points, assessing both opportunity and risk with meticulous care. Understanding that success depended on the integration of intelligence, environmental awareness, and adaptive strategy, and as they continued, carefully documenting, photographing, and cross-referencing, Dwayne noted a faint sound from the adjacent hallway, a subtle vibration, almost imperceptible, that suggested the movement of a third party, and he adjusted their positions, signaling Kimberly to remain still while he assessed the potential threat, scanning exits, egress points, and environmental indicators, mentally rehearsing responses ranging from rapid extraction to misdirection and confrontation if necessary, and as the subtle movement passed without further incident, he relaxed slightly, while maintaining full awareness, and Kimberly whispered observations that connected environmental cues with potential behavioral patterns of unseen individuals, allowing them to anticipate the possible reactions to their presence, and Dwayne integrated these insights with his own mental mapping, refining tactical sequences, timing, and positioning, ensuring maximum efficiency and discretion, and as they moved toward a storage area indicated in her notes, he noted the subtle change in lighting, the alignment of shelves, and the spatial configuration that could influence both observation and concealment, and Kimberly, analyzing her notes, whispered a potential connection between a seemingly minor correspondence and a broader sequence of influence, and Dwayne immediately evaluated the tactical implications, considering both the potential leverage and the risk of exposure, and the interplay of immediate opportunity and longer-term consequence heightened his focus, sharpening his senses and reinforcing the critical need for precision, adaptability, and calm under pressure, and as they entered the storage area, the space was narrow, stacked with boxes, folders, and miscellaneous office materials, creating both concealment and obstacles, and Dwayne navigated carefully, noting structural cues, reflective surfaces, and potential observation points, while Kimberly began cataloging and photographing relevant files, connecting patterns across time, personnel, and organizational hierarchy, and Dwayne continued to integrate every environmental and informational input into his mental map, recalibrating contingency plans, sequencing movements, and preparing for any unforeseen variables that might emerge, and as they worked, he reflected on the nature of dilemmas, recognizing that they were not simply problems to be solved but dynamic systems of action, reaction, and consequence, where human behavior, environmental context, and strategic choice intertwined in ways that demanded constant vigilance, flexible thinking, and the ability to make rapid, informed decisions, and he felt the familiar adrenaline-fueled awareness sharpen every perception, from the faint hum of the ventilation system to the subtle vibration of the floor beneath his shoes, to the distant echoes of activity in adjoining corridors, all signals that could inform tactical decisions, and Kimberly, moving efficiently and silently, highlighted potential points of interest, anomalies, and likely reactions, her insights complementing his own, enhancing situational awareness and operational efficiency, and as they gathered and secured critical documents, Dwayne considered the broader narrative, the interconnections between individuals, decisions, and hidden agendas that the evidence suggested, and he recognized that each piece of information carried both opportunity and danger, requiring careful assessment, ethical consideration, and strategic foresight, and as they prepared to exit the storage area, he conducted a thorough perimeter scan, noting environmental cues, potential observation points, and the alignment of spaces that could influence their retreat, and Kimberly, synchronizing with his movements, adjusted her position to maintain efficiency and discretion, And together they navigated the maze of corridors, stairwells, and offices, fully aware of the delicate balance between action and observation, and the potential for missteps to have cascading consequences. And as they reached the stairwell leading to the building's exit, Dwayne expanded his mental map to include vertical dynamics, line-of-sight considerations, and potential hazards, while anticipating the likely movement of others in the environment. And Kimberly cross-referenced previous observations to identify optimal exit paths and tactical options, and he felt the familiar exhilaration of high-stakes engagement, the intense awareness that each step, each glance, each subtle adjustment could influence the outcome of both immediate and subsequent actions. And as they descended the stairs, careful to avoid squeaky treads and potential detection, Dwayne catalogued each detail, preparing for contingencies ranging from rapid extraction to evasive maneuvers, while simultaneously considering strategic implications for the information they had gathered. And as they reached the exit, the faint glow of city lights illuminating wet sidewalks and casting distorted reflections, he allowed a brief internal exhale. Maintaining full situational awareness, and recognized that while the immediate physical task was nearing completion, the broader challenges of analysis, interpretation, and strategic application of the information were only beginning, and that the next steps would demand continued precision, insight, and adaptability. And as they stepped into the street, blending into the urban fabric, Dwayne felt the full weight and exhilaration of the night's unfolding, aware that every decision, every observation, and every action had contributed to the intricate, evolving narrative of Dwayne's dilemma, and that the coming hours would test their intellect, awareness, and composure in ways they could only anticipate but not fully predict. And he embraced the challenge, ready to navigate the complex web of consequences, opportunities, and revelations that awaited, fully immersed in the high-stakes, unpredictable, and intoxicating world that the night had revealed, and fully committed to the choices, dilemmas, and actions that would define the trajectory of both the mission and the broader story that was Dwayne's dilemma. Dwayne and Kimberly moved through the rain-slicked streets with a heightened sense of urgency, each step calculated to avoid puddles that could betray their presence through splashes, each movement harmonized with the subtle rhythm of the city around them, the distant hum of traffic, the occasional bark of a dog, and the faint murmur of late-night pedestrians creating a constantly shifting soundscape that Dwayne instinctively catalogued, analyzing timing, potential observation points, and environmental patterns, while Kimberly kept a careful hold on the folder containing the evidence they had painstakingly gathered, her eyes darting to shadows, streetlights, and window reflections, noting irregularities, potential threats, and possible paths to maintain discretion. And together they moved as a single, cohesive unit, their silent coordination the product of experience, acute awareness, and mutual trust. And Dwayne felt the familiar rush of adrenaline, tempered by the meticulous focus that allowed him to process environmental and human cues simultaneously, mapping out contingencies, escape routes, and possible intersections where observation or interference could occur. And as they approached a narrow side street leading to a service entrance, he paused, crouched slightly, and scanned for signs of surveillance, subtle movements, or anomalies in the otherwise deserted urban corridor. And he detected faint scuff marks on the pavement, a subtle glint from a wet metal surface, and an almost imperceptible echo of footsteps from an unseen source, all indicators that demanded cautious evaluation and adaptive strategy. And Kimberly, recognizing the subtle shift in his posture, adjusted her pace and orientation, and Dwayne signaled with a slight nod that they would proceed in a measured, coordinated fashion. And as they neared the service entrance, the dim glow of a security light cast long shadows, highlighting potential obstructions, reflective surfaces, and vantage points that could betray their presence. And Dwayne's mind catalogued each element, constructing a dynamic mental map that allowed him to optimize movement, minimize risk, and anticipate potential interference. And Kimberly, following closely, whispered notes about minor environmental cues, the potential for surveillance cameras, and likely responses from anyone monitoring the area. And Dwayne integrated this information with his own analysis, recalibrating their approach, sequence, and timing, ensuring maximum operational efficiency while maintaining discretion, and as they reached the door, Dwayne gently tested the handle, noting slight resistance in the lock, the texture of the surface, and the subtle changes in temperature that suggested environmental conditions, and with careful precision, he manipulated the mechanism, allowing the door to open with a soft, measured creak, and they stepped inside, immediately transitioning into the calculated observational mindset that had guided them throughout the night, scanning corners, doors, and potential hiding places while assessing points of access, egress, and possible vantage for unseen observers, and Kimberly moved methodically toward the central office area, arranging the documents and photographs in a sequence that would allow for quick review, analysis, and correlation with previously obtained intelligence. And Dwayne maintained awareness of the room's entire spatial configuration, noting desk placement, filing, cabinet positions, reflective surfaces, and environmental anomalies, and as Kimberly uncovered a folder that detailed intricate communications, financial transactions, and subtle behavioral patterns, Dwayne felt the thrill of discovery tempered by the awareness of consequence, recognizing the potential ripple effects of the information and the responsibility inherent in possessing it, and he began tracing mental maps of influence, power, and potential exposure, connecting patterns across multiple individuals, timelines, and strategic considerations, and as they continued, meticulously photographing and cross-referencing each document, Dwayne monitored environmental cues, distant echoes from other floors, and subtle sounds that could indicate the presence of additional personnel, while simultaneously assessing the tactical implications of every detail, positioning, and interaction, and Kimberly, adjusting her movements and observations, noted discrepancies, anomalies, and subtle indicators that could suggest manipulation, deception, or concealment, and together they integrated these inputs, refining their mental model of the environment and the broader implications of the intelligence, and as they moved toward the rear of the office, Dwayne noted a faint vibration through the floor, a subtle shift in lighting, and the almost imperceptible creak of a door hinge, all of which suggested potential movement beyond their immediate perception, and he adjusted their positions, signaled Kimberly to remain silent, and prepared contingency plans for rapid extraction, misdirection, or confrontation if necessary, and as the brief period of potential risk passed without incident, he exhaled quietly, maintaining situational awareness while reaffirming the operational plan, and Kimberly, whispering subtle assessments, connected environmental cues to potential behavioral patterns, allowing them to anticipate possible reactions, while Dwayne refined a sequence of actions, ensuring their movements remained synchronized and discreet, and as they progressed toward the back offices and storage areas, Dwayne cataloged spatial orientation, line of sight, and potential observation points, while integrating environmental data with the strategic implications of the documents, and as Kimberly highlighted connections between previously disparate pieces of correspondence, financial logs, and personnel activity, Dwayne recognized the emerging pattern, a web of influence, manipulation, and hidden relationships that could have far-reaching consequences if disclosed or mishandled. And he began mentally simulating scenarios, assessing risk, opportunity, and potential fallout, while simultaneously monitoring the environment for any signs of intrusion or surveillance, and as they moved toward a small storage closet identified in the notes as potentially containing additional evidence, Dwayne noted the alignment of shelving, gaps in floorboards, and subtle reflections from metallic objects, while Kimberly began carefully cataloging folders and cross-referencing contents, whispering hypotheses and potential correlations, and Dwayne felt the exhilarating, almost intoxicating rush of fully engaged situational awareness, where analysis, intuition, and strategic foresight merged into continuous, adaptive action, and as they secured critical documents and photographs, Dwayne scanned the environment for exit paths, alternative routes, and environmental anomalies, while mentally rehearsing contingencies for immediate extraction, misdirection, or unexpected encounters. And Kimberly, attuned to his rhythm, synchronized her movements and observations, enhancing their combined operational efficiency, and as they prepared to exit the storage area and return to the stairwell leading to the street, Dwayne noted subtle cues in the corridor, environmental textures, and auditory shifts that could influence movement, while continuously integrating insights from the documents into a broader tactical and strategic framework, and as they descended the stairs carefully, avoiding squeaky treads, potential obstacles, and lines of sight that could compromise them, he felt the familiar pulse of adrenaline, tempered by disciplined awareness, and the awareness that each step, each adjustment, and each observation carried weight, shaping both immediate and subsequent outcomes. And as they reached the street once more, the glow of neon signs reflecting in puddles, the distant sound of late-night traffic, and the intermittent echoes of pedestrians formed a complex sensory landscape. Dwayne recalibrated environmental awareness, anticipating potential observers, traffic flows, and points of interference, and Kimberly, moving in silent coordination, offered subtle assessments, noting paths of least exposure, probable vantage points, and potential hazards, and together they navigated toward the safe house where they would analyze the evidence, each step deliberate, measured, and synchronized, and as they approached, Dwayne felt the cumulative weight of the night's operations, the exhilarating tension, the subtle fear, and the intoxicating sense of engagement, and he recognized that the challenges were far from over, that the full implications of the evidence, the interactions of individuals, and the web of influence they had uncovered would demand meticulous attention, rapid adaptability, and strategic insight, and as they entered the safe house, Dwayne allowed a brief exhale, maintaining focus, aware that the next phase, analysis, interpretation, and planning, would be as critical, complex, and demanding as the maneuvers that had brought them to this point. And he embraced it fully, ready to confront the emerging dilemmas, opportunities, and revelations that defined the continuing narrative of Dwayne's dilemma, and fully aware that the night's journey, its risks, challenges, and insights, had only begun to shape the trajectory of the decisions, relationships, and consequences that lay ahead. Dwayne sat at a small wooden table in the safe house, the yellowed glow of a single lamp casting long, irregular shadows across the walls, the faint hum of the refrigerator and the occasional drip of water from the sink the only ambient sounds, and as he opened the folder and began to sort through the collected documents, photographs, and correspondence, he felt a familiar mix of exhilaration and responsibility, knowing that each piece of information could shift the balance of understanding, influence, and decision-making, while Kimberly, seated across from him, worked methodically, her eyes scanning each page with meticulous care, annotating margins, cross-referencing dates, names, and locations, and together they created a rhythm of analysis and synthesis, the sort of coordination that had become second nature after countless hours of joint effort under pressure. And Dwayne marveled at the subtle interplay between observation, intuition, and deduction, recognizing that the information before them was not merely data but a living, evolving narrative, a web of connections, intentions, and potential consequences that required careful navigation. And as he examined a particularly revealing memo detailing financial transfers between a series of shell companies, he noted subtle inconsistencies, discrepancies in timing, and minor anomalies in notation, each of which could be either coincidence or deliberate obfuscation, and he catalogued each mentally, hypothesizing possible motives, patterns of deception, and potential leverage points, while Kimberly, noting a series of cryptic email chains, suggested a connection between two individuals previously assumed unrelated, and Dwayne immediately began mapping the implications, visualizing networks of influence, loyalty, and manipulation, tracing lines between personal, professional, and clandestine activities, and recognizing the delicate balance between knowledge, power, and risk, and as they continued their work, he felt the familiar tension between urgency and patience, knowing that acting too quickly could provoke exposure, while hesitation could result in missed opportunities, and each decision had to be carefully weighed, calibrated, and timed to maximize advantage and minimize risk, and Kimberly, sensing his internal calculation, offered observations that highlighted potential outcomes, possible reactions, and strategic maneuvers, and Dwayne integrated her insights seamlessly, adjusting his own mental framework, and together they created a dynamic operational map, flexible, responsive, and predictive, a living model of both immediate and potential future scenarios, and as they trace financial flows, communications, and personal interactions across multiple layers of individuals, Dwayne began to discern patterns, repetitive behaviors, and subtle manipulations, the kind of hidden architecture that could, if properly understood, provide profound insight into both intent and vulnerability, and he felt the intoxicating thrill of discovery tempered by the sobering awareness of consequence, the knowledge that misinterpretation or misstep could have ramifications far beyond the immediate circle, and as Kimberly highlighted a particularly sensitive set of documents detailing a sequence of potentially compromising interactions, Dwayne analyzed the timing, location, and likely motivations of each participant, constructing mental simulations of alternative actions, probable responses, and potential leverage, and he recognized that each layer of information added both clarity and complexity, expanding the web of implications, opportunities, and hazards, and as they continued, the night deepened outside, the city quiet, except for occasional distant sounds, and Dwayne felt a heightened awareness of both physical and cognitive environment, understanding that their work required not just deduction but a constant integration of environmental cues, psychological insight, and strategic foresight, and as Kimberly proposed a hypothetical course of action based on the emerging patterns, Dwayne evaluated the tactical and ethical ramifications, potential contingencies, and cascading consequences, recognizing that each choice was both a reflection of their judgment and a determinant of the unfolding narrative, and he carefully weighed timing, sequencing, and probable reactions, refining their operational plan while simultaneously anticipating possible complications, and as they catalogued photographic evidence, traced communications, and mapped the network of influence revealed by the documents, Dwayne felt a familiar tension of operating at the intersection of uncertainty, insight, and action, each piece of evidence a potential key, each connection a potential lever, each decision a step toward resolution or risk, and he realized that the night's work demanded not only intellect and intuition but discipline, restraint, and an unflinching awareness of consequence, and as Kimberly suggested, correlating specific communications with financial activity to identify patterns of manipulation, Dwayne immediately began constructing cross-reference matrices, identifying anomalies, and visualizing the interplay of actions, reactions, and incentives, and he felt the exhilarating pulse of engagement, the mental clarity and focus that arise from fully immersed, high-stakes analysis, and as they continued through the hours, Dwayne traced subtle psychological cues, behavioral patterns, and hidden alignments that suggested not only intent but vulnerability, opportunity, and leverage, and he considered the strategic implications of disclosure, confrontation, and negotiation, evaluating probable reactions, risks, and outcomes across multiple scenarios, while Kimberly, equally meticulous, noted patterns of omission, ambiguity, and misdirection, helping him refine hypotheses and operational planning, and together they formed a dynamic team, where observation, deduction, intuition, and strategic foresight converge, and as the night advanced, Dwayne mapped potential decision trees, identifying nodes of influence, potential conflicts, and sequences of action that could produce optimal outcomes, while also maintaining contingencies for unexpected interference, misinterpretation, or environmental shifts, and he recognized that the work required both breadth and depth of understanding, the ability to see both the forest and the individual trees, the macro patterns and the micro details, and as they correlated communications, financial transfers, and behavioral indicators, Dwayne identified recurring motifs of influence, manipulation, and deception, and visualized how these motifs could interact, amplify, or mitigate one another depending on choices made, and he considered the psychological dimensions of each participant, likely stress responses, biases, and decision-making tendencies, and used this analysis to anticipate possible actions, reactions, and countermeasures, and as Kimberly suggested, synthesizing these findings into a narrative timeline. Dwayne recognized the utility of transforming abstract data into a structured, interpretable sequence that could inform both understanding and strategy, and as they began constructing this timeline, integrating physical evidence, communications, financial flows, and behavioral analysis, he felt a growing sense of coherence, the pieces of the puzzle aligning into a comprehensible pattern that revealed both risk and opportunity, and yet, the complexity of the web ensured that each insight carried implications beyond immediate perception, requiring careful consideration, strategic foresight, and adaptive planning, and as the first hints of dawn began to lighten the night sky, Dwayne and Kimberly paused briefly, surveying the organized chaos of documents, photographs, and notes, recognizing that while the physical work was substantial, the cognitive and strategic analysis was ongoing, and that the consequences of the information extended into a network of human actions, decisions, and potential conflicts that they had only begun to understand, and Dwayne reflected on the nature of dilemmas, recognizing that the interplay of knowledge, power, choice, and consequence created a constantly shifting landscape, one that demanded awareness, adaptability, and the capacity for rapid, informed decision-making, and as Kimberly suggested next steps, Dwayne began to formulate strategies for dissemination, leverage, and defensive positioning, anticipating both the reactions of individuals within the network and the emergent consequences of revealing or withholding information, and he felt the weight, intensity, and exhilaration of the night's operations, fully aware that Dwayne's dilemma was far from resolved, that the unfolding narrative was dynamic, unpredictable, and high stakes, and that their choices, observations, and analysis would shape both immediate outcomes and longer-term consequences, and as the city slowly awoke outside, Dwayne leaned back, eyes scanning the room, mind processing, calculating, and integrating, fully immersed in the challenge, ready to navigate the next phase, and fully aware that the night, though nearing its temporal end, had set the stage for a complex, ongoing sequence of dilemmas, strategies, and revelations that would define the trajectory of their mission and the broader narrative of Dwayne's dilemma. Dwayne and Kimberly worked through the morning haze, the first pale light of dawn filtering through the thin curtains of the safe house, casting muted shadows across the organized chaos of documents, photographs, and notes that lay scattered across the table and floor, and as they continued correlating evidence, Dwayne felt the familiar pulse of focus and anticipation, the kind that comes from fully engaging with a complex, high-stakes problem where every detail, every connection, and every inference could shift the trajectory of outcomes, and Kimberly, meticulously annotating margins, flipping through documents, and cross-referencing data with their previous observations, whispered connections that immediately reshaped Dwayne's understanding, revealing patterns that had been invisible without the contextual overlay, and he marveled at the subtle interplay of deduction, intuition, and synthesis, recognizing that the intelligence they had gathered was not static but a dynamic network of influence, relationships, and hidden agendas that required constant attention, careful mapping, and strategic foresight, and as he examined a series of financial transfers, each annotated with timestamps, signatures, and corresponding communications, he noted minor inconsistencies and irregularities, subtle deviations that could indicate deliberate misdirection or concealment, and immediately began to hypothesize potential motives, methods, and vulnerabilities, mentally tracing chains of causality, influence, and consequence, while Kimberly highlighted corresponding anomalies in communications that suggested hidden alignments or undisclosed relationships, and Dwayne, integrating her observations, began constructing a multi-layered network of connections, visualizing not only direct interactions but also indirect influences, latent conflicts, and potential leverage points. And as they continued, he felt a thrill of discovery tempered by the sobering weight of responsibility, knowing that any misinterpretation, misstep, or premature action could trigger unintended consequences, compromise the integrity of the operation, or provoke danger, and Kimberly, sensing the magnitude of the task, suggested segmenting the data into actionable units, identifying critical nodes, patterns of manipulation, and points of leverage, and Dwayne immediately began to reorganize their mental and physical mapping to reflect this structure, integrating insights, anticipating reactions, and refining contingencies, and as they traced a particular sequence of correspondence that spanned multiple offices, regions, and individuals, he noted recurring motifs, subtle shifts in tone, patterns of omission, synchronized timing, and repeated behavioral tendencies, all of which suggested not only operational intent but psychological strategy, and he mapped these insights onto their broader network, visualizing the interactions, dependencies, and potential consequences, while Kimberly, noting further details in financial logs, suggested possible connections to external actors, and Dwayne incorporated this layer of analysis, recognizing that the web of influence extended beyond immediate observation, encompassing unseen forces, pressures, and strategic considerations, and as they synthesized these findings into a coherent framework, Dwayne considered multiple scenarios, disclosures, negotiations, strategic interventions, and defensive positioning. Evaluating the probable reactions, risks, and cascading consequences for each possible path, and the complexity of potential outcomes, the interweaving of human behavior, environmental conditions, and sequential actions, created a constantly evolving matrix that demanded both broad vision and precise attention to detail, and as they continued mapping, he noticed subtle patterns in the behavior of certain individuals revealed through the documents, repetitions, anomalies, and calculated inconsistencies, which suggested not only intentional manipulation but potential weaknesses, and Dwayne mentally simulated possible courses of action, anticipating countermeasures, reactions, and alternative scenarios, while Kimberly provided supplemental insights, identifying subtle interconnections and potential leverage points, and together they constructed a dynamic strategic model that integrated both immediate tactical options and long-term implications, and as the morning light grew stronger, illuminating the room and the documents, Dwayne felt the intensity of focus that comes from being fully immersed in high-stakes analysis. The heightened awareness that allowed him to perceive nuance, anticipate reactions, and evaluate consequences simultaneously, and as Kimberly identified a particularly sensitive correspondence linking multiple actors, he traced probable influences, motivations, and risk factors, assessing the potential impact of disclosure or confrontation, and he considered ethical, practical, and strategic dimensions, recognizing that each decision would ripple outward, affecting not only immediate circumstances but also longer-term networks of relationships, trust, and power, and as they continued, the sheer volume of interrelated data required both mental agility and disciplined reasoning, constantly balancing observation, deduction, and action, and Dwayne felt the familiar rush of engagement, the thrilling tension between insight and uncertainty, as every correlation, anomaly, and inference could redefine the operational landscape, and Kimberly, moving through notes and photographs, suggested testing hypotheses against previously unconsidered variables, and Dwayne adapted, expanding their analytical framework, incorporating probabilistic assessments, environmental conditions, and behavioral tendencies, and as they traced patterns across timelines, communications, and financial flows, he began identifying clusters of influence, potential conflicts, and sequences of leverage that could be exploited strategically, while simultaneously maintaining contingencies for unexpected developments, and as they began constructing a chronological synthesis, mapping sequences of actions, intentions, and interactions, Dwayne felt a deep sense of clarity and urgency, recognizing that while the narrative of events was complex, the emergent structure allowed them to anticipate key decision points, identify leverage opportunities, and forecast potential outcomes, and Kimberly, adding a layer of behavioral analysis, highlighted likely stress responses, cognitive biases, and strategic tendencies, enabling Dwayne to anticipate probable reactions and preempt complications, and as they merged these layers into a comprehensive operational map, he realized that the night's collection, documentation, and initial analysis had only set the stage for a broader strategic engagement, one where precision, foresight, and adaptive execution would define success. And as they paused briefly to reorganize and consolidate findings, Dwayne reflected on the interdependent nature of information, environment, and human behavior, understanding that each choice, each interpretation, and each movement carried both opportunity and risk, and that their continued navigation of these dilemmas required a combination of intellect, intuition, and disciplined judgment, and as Kimberly suggested identifying priority nodes for potential action, he began sequencing decisions, mapping probable consequences, and aligning strategies with both immediate tactical advantage and long-term objectives, and the process was both exhilarating and sobering, as the network of connections, influence, and potential outcomes expanded before them, demanding constant reassessment, vigilance, and strategic foresight, and as the safe house clock ticked forward, Dwayne and Kimberly immersed themselves further, integrating insights from multiple dimensions, financial, behavioral, operational, and environmental, into a cohesive, actionable framework, anticipating reaction chains, contingencies, and the dynamic interplay of human behavior, and as they reached the point where connections became revelations, patterns crystallized into probable motives, and opportunities for leverage became visible, Dwayne recognized that they had not only gathered evidence but had begun to understand the broader architecture of influence, manipulation, and hidden agendas, and the weight of responsibility settled firmly upon him, the exhilarating awareness that each choice, each communication, and each subsequent action could shape the trajectory of consequences in profound and unpredictable ways, and as Kimberly organized the final set of documents for the initial report, Dwayne considered next steps, weighing discretion against action, observation against intervention, and risk against potential reward, and he felt the familiar surge of analytical clarity, strategic insight, and operational awareness, fully engaged in the complex, evolving narrative that had become Dwayne's dilemma, aware that the night's work had set the stage for decisions, revelations, and challenges that would continue to unfold in unpredictable ways, and that their ability to navigate the intricate web of human behavior, environmental variables, and strategic opportunity would define both immediate outcomes and the larger arc of consequences, and as the morning sun fully illuminated the safe house, Dwayne and Kimberly leaned back briefly, exchanging a wordless acknowledgement of progress, readiness, and focus, fully aware that the journey, the dilemmas, and the revelations were far from over, and that the next phase would demand all of their skill, insight, and composure to navigate successfully. Dwayne felt the weight of the morning settle around him like a tangible presence as he and Kimberly prepared to move from analysis to action, the culmination of the night's meticulous work finally converging into a set of actionable insights, and yet the gravity of the situation pressed heavily, the recognition that each decision, each movement, each communication from this point forward would have ripple effects far beyond their immediate perception, and as they reviewed the compiled dossier, Dwayne traced connections, inconsistencies, and leverage points across multiple dimensions, financial, operational, behavioral, and psychological, each layer reinforcing the complexity of the web they had uncovered, and Kimberly, adjusting her annotated charts and timelines, whispered observations about potential weak points, psychological tendencies, and anticipated reactions. Her insights immediately integrated into Dwayne's dynamic mental map, the two of them operating as a single analytical and strategic unit, and he marveled at the seamless interplay of deduction, intuition, and foresight, recognizing that their collective understanding now enabled them to anticipate not only the predictable responses of the individuals involved but also the subtle, emergent behaviors that might arise from pressure, manipulation, or miscommunication. And as they began to sequence potential courses of action, weighing risk against reward, exposure against influence, and immediate tactical advantage against long-term strategic outcomes, Dwayne felt the familiar thrill of engagement, tempered by the sobering awareness that missteps, miscalculations, or lapses in judgment could have cascading, irreversible consequences, and Kimberly highlighted a particularly sensitive set of communications that linked multiple actors across seemingly unrelated operations, suggesting the existence of a hidden hierarchy, subtle channels of influence, and an intricate system of dependencies that had allowed manipulation and control to propagate largely undetected. And as Dwayne traced the ramifications of these connections, he visualized the potential outcomes, countermeasures, and strategic interventions, constructing branching sequences of action, reaction, and consequence, each path a potential thread in the complex tapestry of influence and decision-making. And he recognized that the success of their operation depended not merely on understanding the data but on navigating the interplay of human behavior, environmental factors, and timing with exceptional precision. And as Kimberly proposed correlating these high-priority nodes with external events, Dwayne immediately expanded the operational map to include not just direct interactions but indirect influences, latent vulnerabilities, and the potential for leverage, manipulation, and ethical confrontation. And as they simulated various scenarios, weighing potential outcomes, reactions, and cascading consequences, Dwayne felt the intoxicating tension of fully engaged strategic thinking, the convergence of intellect, intuition, and disciplined judgment, the kind of heightened awareness that allowed him to anticipate not only what was likely but also what was possible, improbable, or even concealed. And as the afternoon light deepened, illuminating the safe house in warm, filtered tones, he and Kimberly continued to cross-reference communications, financial records, and behavioral data, tracing inconsistencies, patterns, and subtle motifs that suggested hidden alliances, unacknowledged influence, and deliberate misdirection. And with each revelation, the network of understanding expanded, revealing both opportunity and risk, while simultaneously underscoring the ethical and practical weight of their decisions. And Dwayne reflected on the delicate balance required to act decisively without overreach, to leverage knowledge without causing unintended harm, and to navigate uncertainty without paralysis. And Kimberly, noting specific anomalies and potential pressure points, suggested prioritized interventions, defensive maneuvers, and strategic communications. And Dwayne integrated these recommendations, constructing a multi-layered framework that accounted for immediate, intermediate, and long-term effects, blending tactical precision with adaptive foresight. And as they prepared to implement the first phase of action, he paused, feeling the full intensity of responsibility and consequence, the recognition that the choices made now would shape outcomes far beyond their immediate perception, influence human behavior in subtle and overt ways, and alter the trajectory of multiple intertwined narratives. And yet, amid the gravity, he felt a surge of exhilaration, the awareness that fully engaging with complexity, navigating uncertainty, and making informed, deliberate choices was not only necessary but profoundly empowering. And as Kimberly reviewed the final set of evidence, highlighting potential leverage points, points of vulnerability, and probable behavioral responses, Dwayne mentally rehearsed sequences of interaction, response, and adaptation, integrating environmental cues, anticipated reactions, and the dynamic interplay of influence and counterinfluence. And as the first actionable decision point approached, he felt a heightened clarity, the convergence of analysis, intuition, and foresight, the ability to anticipate, respond, and adapt to the unfolding chain of events. And as they stepped outside, the city alive with mid-morning energy, the air carrying the scent of pavement, coffee, and distant traffic, Dwayne maintained acute awareness, noting observation points, line-of-sight possibilities, and environmental variables that could influence exposure, reception, or misinterpretation, and Kimberly, moving in tandem, adjusted positioning, pacing, and attention, and together they approached the designated location for initial engagement, fully synchronized in thought, movement, and intention, and as they entered the site, blending into the ordinary flow of human activity, Dwayne monitored every micro-expression, movement pattern, and environmental cue, correlating each observation with the anticipated reactions and potential consequences they had mapped, and as Kimberly discreetly relayed key observations and insights, he adjusted strategies, sequencing, and positioning in real time, maintaining flexibility and responsiveness, while ensuring alignment with broader objectives. And as the first exchanges of communication occurred, subtle signals, both verbal and nonverbal, provided critical feedback, confirming hypotheses, suggesting deviations, and highlighting emergent patterns, and Dwayne processed each instantaneously, recalibrating approach, weighting risk, opportunity, and potential leverage, and as the dialogue unfolded, he recognized that human behavior, environmental factors, and the strategic positioning of information created a constantly evolving matrix, where observation, interpretation, and action were inseparable, and where the margin for error was simultaneously narrow and consequential. And Kimberly, noting cues that suggested stress, hesitation, or concealed intent, whispered tactical insights that allowed Dwayne to adjust approach, timing, and phrasing, ensuring both discretion and effectiveness. And as the sequence of interactions progressed, the interplay of influence, decision-making, and environmental context revealed subtle alignments and emergent vulnerabilities, and Dwayne integrated these insights into both immediate tactical choices and longer-term strategic considerations, continuously balancing observation, action, and adaptation. And as the engagement concluded, leaving both opportunity and risk for subsequent action, Dwayne and Kimberly withdrew to a discrete location, the pulse of awareness remaining high, the analytical and strategic processes continuing in real time as they debriefed, consolidated observations, and prepared for the next phase. And Dwayne reflected on the journey from nightfall to this moment, the meticulous collection, analysis, and synthesis of information, the coordination, intuition, and judgment required, and the complex web of human behavior, environmental factors, and ethical decision-making that had defined each step. And he realized that the culmination of Dwayne's dilemma was not merely the resolution of a mission, but the ongoing mastery of awareness, strategy, and action in a world defined by complexity, uncertainty, and consequence. And as they finally paused, sharing a brief moment of silent acknowledgement of progress, focus, and readiness, Dwayne felt the full weight, intensity, and exhilaration of the narrative, the understanding that while this chapter of the night had concluded, the implications, lessons, and networks of influence would continue to unfold, requiring continuous vigilance, adaptive strategy, and careful judgment. And he embraced it fully, aware that Dwayne's dilemma was both concluded in this immediate sequence and perpetually ongoing in the broader context of human interaction, consequence, and strategic engagement. And as the sunlight deepened, illuminating the safe house and the city beyond, he leaned back, absorbing the moment, integrating insights, and preparing for the continuing journey, knowing that the night had revealed not only information and opportunity but also the profound necessity of awareness, collaboration, and deliberate action in the face of complexity, uncertainty, and moral consequence, and that this understanding, this synthesis of experience, strategy, and judgment, would guide them into the next phase, the next challenge, and the unfolding resolution of Dwayne's dilemma.